do that. We're gonna do that cold start live thing until I get my shit together. So, so here we go.
We all know the song, right? I don't want to hear it. I want to ruin the on screen. Oh, that's right, yeah. Turn it up a little bit.
Burgeoning metal scene with all these like non-hair bands, and you know, for guys like them and Metallica, they all came up to the Bay Area and found like more than a welcoming home up there, you know. It's just...
Well, how do you like them apples?
Good apples.
Yeah, that's right. That montage could have been 15 minutes long if I had more time to prepare. But
I'd have been okay with it.
It's already took me about 10 hours, but good evening, good afternoon, good night, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to It's Only Talk and Roll, where we're going to be dipping our toes into the to California metal and diversion into punk today. So we're going to be getting loud and hairy and heavy. Well, I won't be getting hairy, but I hope you're all doing well today. We have a great panel with us of knowledgeable and very good-looking people, I have to say today. The beards are winning so far over the balls, so that's good to see. And
gotta have that hair somewhere.
And as I've said, I got the face for radio, so hence why no photo of me.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I think you're just identifying as the wrong gender.
No.
I would like to start by, as usual, by saying a welcome to the chat. You're all lovely people. You support this channel all the time. You're always here. It's great to see you. So we got Soul Assassin, the Sentinel, who I did send you a link, Sentinel, if you get the chance. You may be at work. The lovely Sherry, supporter of many great channels, and D-Bud Martin, our great friend. Good to see you, D-Bud. Papa Cotton, who is triggered by our use of hair metal as metal bands. So I expect lots of contributions in the chat for you, Papa. Clobbering Times, the wonderful Clobbering Times. We've got Sentient Dildo, who always inserting himself into the chat as usual. The great Lord Thoth and fellow Canadian, eh?
Praise be, Lord Thoth.
Exactly. Praise be to Lord Thoth. Thank you for being here, sir. Just another red shirt, our mutual friend and wrench and contributor to so many great channels. Good to see you, buddy. Some guy called Imperatus, who I think the other mods need to ban.
Yeah, that asshole.
And if I've missed anybody, Anima Confusa, X-Ray Girl is here, keeping an eye on the boss, which is good.
Probably
somebody is a good idea, I think. Matt, Foulball Productions, good to see you, buddy. And if I've missed anybody, my apologies, but we were checking in on you later. And as I'm a one-man production show, things might get a bit hectic, but I will try and highlight your chats. So today, I would like to introduce, as usual, the panel. I'll start with the man who taught me how to make my ears bleed properly, Imperatus. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. Looking forward to this. Pleasure meeting Gary for the first time. It's going to be cool. That and the fact that I grew up on a lot of this music. In my year when I was still in school, especially junior high and high school, I was listening to a lot of the Bay Area thrash. That was that was a long time ago. So
junior high, I was listening to Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Status Quo.
I want to say it was my sophomore year in high school is when I started digging into the underground because thrash started disappearing and led into grunge and
yes, the great continental divide. But yeah, thanks for being here, buddy. Always appreciate your contribution. Our next regular panelist, of course, is another man who he's like my backstairs, below stairs son from another mother, the wonderful Mr. Pope Metallicus. I can see the power with overwhelming firepower. They're fueled by the fear in the random desire.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me back.
Good. No, I couldn't do it without you. So that clip probably alone gets me banned by Mama Susan because even 5 seconds of Sabaton is lethal.
Yeah, Nuclear Blast is very, very vigilant when it comes to their copyright.
Yes, they are.
I'll have to mute that one later. But yeah, thanks for being here, buddy. Looking forward to your insights on this topic. And now,
I'm here.
What can I?
My camera died.
What can I say about our next guest, Courtney? She is the blonde bombshell. Well, she's now the red-haired bombshell of the bass. She's a true rocker, and she is such a wonderful person and supporter of this channel. And somewhere down here, I even on a relevant clip for her. She's got the How are you,
No,
my
I
dear?
can't find my glasses right now.
It's probably a good idea.
How's everyone doing?
Very good.
Good
Yeah.
to see you, lass. How you feeling?
I'm doing great. I still have a hospital bracelet on. Um, it's very stylish today. I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about some good music and especially bringing some of that the California punk aspect to it. So
Well, you and Gary are going to be our punk experts as well as metal, of course. I believe. I mean, I know a lot of the bands from listening to it, but as I was saying to the guys before we came on, I've never been. Well, I've been to La Brea and I've been to the airport in LA. I've never been to Sunset Strip. I've never been to San Francisco, although I've been to San Jose and Oakland. So I don't know physically those scenes. I mean, I would love to have gone in the heydays of what was going on there. So if any anecdotes are available, that would be great. But thank you, lass, for being here. And I know you know some of the bands, and you've even been in one of the bands that we're going to
I
talk about.
have. Is Gary from the Bay Area?
I was there, but I'm not from it. I was in SoCal when I was young and
Yeah.
getting into trouble.
Okay. All
So
right.
that's more LA, but hey, that's
Yeah,
the scenes crossover.
Yep. I know all those scenes. So well, fun. Yay. I'm gonna
That
find my
brings us-
glasses.
That brings us on to our next guest, a special guest today, and we're all extremely excited that this gentleman is here to talk about music, which is something I've really wanted to hear you talking about music for a long time, Gary. I know you worked in a record store like I did.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Shitty pay, but the benefits were good. That's what I say. And so we have with us today Gary from Nerdrotic, and I do have a little clip for you because we're taking you back all the way back to California.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Can't escape it.
There's no escape. How are you today, sir?
I'm great because I'm not in California.
That's
Yeah.
right.
No, having a good
Thanks, and
day.
gentlemen. Cool. No, thanks for being here. And I do have a question before we start, though. I always say nerdrotic, but everybody else says nerderotic. What is the true pronunciation?
Nerdrotic.
No E. So
I say
nerdrotic.
neurotic.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to say neurotic, so it's nerdrotic.
But not nerd-erotic.
No.
Because some people.
I mean, if you want to
think
make it that way, it can have multiple meanings. It's up to you.
it drives me insane when that happens.
I'm not into allegory. You can interpret with the name whatever the way you want.
Neurotic. Neurosis was a good band. You know, you could go into all that
You could.
connections.
Great. So yeah, thanks to you all for being here. Appreciate it as always. So let's hope we have the usual fun shenanigans. And I will be tempting Mama Susan throughout the show by showing images, playing video clips. And as I'm not monetized, I can usually get away with most of them. I think we did get the stream stopped last time, but it came back again. So yeah, there's a long history of music in California, rock music, as you could see from the opening montage. So, I mean, it's one of the power centers of world rock music, and you could hold like a 48-hour stream if you wanted to talk about everything that came from California, right back to the 50s or before even. So today we're going to kind of focus a bit more on metal and punk stuff that was happening in the late 70s and onward. Because if we did too long a stream, I don't think my old bladder could take it anyway. So, and even more specifically, I want to concentrate on the kind of the nationwide scenes that were spawned by what happened in Sunset Strip in the late 70s, and then what happened up in the Bay Area. And you had, a large hair metal explosion, which must have been really messy in the Sunset Strip. And then in the Bay Area, the beginnings of thrash and a crossover punk scene between both of them as well. So what was it about those places that caused this? What were some of the greatest bands, records that were made? Some of the gigs and legendary gigs in legendary arenas, and what has been the lasting legacy of those? And of course, if you guys want to divert and talk about other stuff, we'll do that as we go. LA in particular, it's a music giant. I mean, we could cover so many different things going on in LA, from East LA with like Los Lobos, the mighty Los Lobos, the Blasters, who are a huge favorite of mine. You got Compton and areas like that. So rap and hip hop, You've got traditional classic pop that came out of it, like the Beach Boys and so on, Capitol Records. But the strip has always been a big aspect of that. So that's where we really want to focus on there. So that's really the outline of what we're going to do. I've got a lot of images and stuff that we can chat about, and some videos here and there. So I say I've never been to the Sunset Strip. I've seen movies about it. I've seen lots of videos about it. Have you guys, any of you guys, hung out there, spent any time there?
I went once when I visited LA because I was stationed at Camp Pendleton. So, like, when I first got out there, I went to get the feel for LA and San Diego. So,
yeah,
I went to LA once. Will never willingly go back again.
What part?
We stayed in Hollywood. So we did do the whole Sunset Strips thing. We went down there, had drinks at the Whiskey a Go-Go, the Rainbow, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, Lemmy was on tour at the time, so didn't get to meet him. But
did you see Lemmy was on the door?
Was on tour at the
time.
Right.
I thought you said he was on the door.
I mean, that probably wasn't an uncommon experience either. But no, it was a really interesting thing, mainly because this is the kind of music I listen to and stuff like that. So this is kind of where it all started.
And there's always been a scene there, right back to the 40s and 50s. Is that Sunset Strip documentary that you can get on Amazon? It's really quite good for that. So they had the crooners there, but long before Vegas, this was the hot place to be. And then it got into the 60s, you got the Byrds and bands like that, Love, Hendrix played there, The Who, all these bands, Led Zeppelin. So there was always a scene there. The Doors, obviously, at the Whiskey. Yeah, that's legendary. I mean, I gave a kind of false impression at the beginning that it was all flower power and peace and love, but those eras were pretty freaking party times too. I would say the Doors at the Whiskey. And I think the Strip, I mean, it goes from it's Sunset Boulevard, really.
Yeah.
And it goes from West Hollywood right down to the Marmont in Beverly Hills. Is that right? For those who may have seen it.
Yeah.
So it's about a mile and a half long, Gary, I think. Yeah.
It is. So I used to go there pretty regularly in the 80s up to the 90s. And there was a Motel 6. It wasn't on the Strip, but it was close, that we'd always stay at. And it was super cheap. I remember in the 80s, we got there for $16. We got to stay there. There was 6 of us piled into a hotel room doing all kinds of drugs. And we go to Retail Slut. And then we'd hit the Strip. I wasn't old enough to get into Whiskey Go-Go. So I would hang out at the outside. When I was old enough to get to the Whiskey Go-Go, I went once. And then I got that was the first time I got sober. So that was the biggest bummer. But I was on that Strip once a month, and I remember I'd drive in the back of my friend's pickup. And this was back when you could just lay down in a pickup. And
you can still do that in Colorado.
You can still do that.
California. But yeah, I just lay down in my friend's pickup. And we just, I'd take a nap for 2 hours.
Do you mind me asking how old you are, Gary?
I'm 53.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so the 80s and
was
90s.
Amoeba Records back? When did that open?
Amoeba was, they were around. They were around?
Okay.
Yeah. Can't remember when they started, but they were around. I went to Lou's Records in San Diego. That's San Diego's, it's still around, by the way. So everybody's got their Lou's or Amoeba. Every big city's got their old vinyl shop that's been around forever, run by some curmudgeon who's awesome. And I was never cool enough to work at Lou's, so I had to work at the Warehouse and Licorice Pizza, which was kind of the best name for a record store, and then they changed it to Sam Goody. But that's
no way, Sam Goody.
Sam Goody. Goody got it. Remember that? And where?
Oh my god!
Wow.
I
Right?
used to go there in the 80s with my mom when they sold vinyl still, on the East Coast. Sam Goody.
But I got to see Danzig. So I got to see Danzig, and then I met Lemmy a couple of times, much later, through a friend of mine who was kind of a rock star. I mean, he's good. Pat Kim. He was in Unwritten Law. I don't know, it was like a poppy band from San Diego in the early 2000s. I don't know if anybody heard of them or not. They
I
had
knew this.
there you go. Yeah, Pat Kim's a buddy of mine. So yeah, he brought me into like a bar, and like Lemmy was there. I was just like, I couldn't say shit. I was so flummoxed and stupid. But it was.
You didn't say, what the hell's Nick Visor doing here?
No, I did.
I would have gone right up to Lemmy and kissed his love button. That's what I call it. Like, for real. I wish I had met him.
You would have stabbed me if I did that.
He's a great example.
Maybe.
Yeah, Motorhead and Lemmy are a great example of a band that certainly are by no means are from LA. I mean, they're Londoners or whatever, but they kind of relocated there and flourished. I mean, Lemmy lived there, I think, in the latter years.
He did.
And he just loved it, and they flourished, and I think they got so much respect from all the different types of music that were on the strip. Like, everybody loved them.
Yeah.
Another band, if you're oh, go on.
No, you
Finish
go
what
on.
you're saying, Gary.
Okay.
I was going to say another band, if you're speaking of like the strip and the whiskey. One of my buddies, who his name is Stanley. He's the guitarist for the Dickies, punk band who's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I was messaging with him and asked about their first show, and he said 1977, playing the Whiskey, September 2nd for Leonard's birthday. I didn't know that they played the Whiskey for their first show. He was 20 years old.
Wow.
Well, that's the funny thing, Courtney. I think a lot of these bands played the whiskey, no matter what the genre, there was nights for all of these bands. And if you look at the flyers, there's a fantastic collection of flyers online. I was looking through them of because that was the days when you had flyers, you had tape bands with tapes. I love that stuff. You go in a record store and all the flyers would be on the counter. And some of them are just incredible when you look at the list of bands. And there was crossover nights where you'd have the Dickies, or you maybe have Hollywood Rose as well, and you'd have all these bands together. I mean, I know eventually there became something of a separation between the punks and the hair metal side, but I guess in the sort of mid to late 70s, it was still mixed up a bit, you know. But what I've seen to be on, I've seen the Dickies live, by the way, but one of the bands.
They're fun.
Yeah. So this is one of the legendary venues there, the Gazzari's, which I think is gone now, or at least it's not a club anymore. A lot of bands played there. Then you had
a tiny joint.
It's a tiny joint, and yet they packed them in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you got the Rainbow Bar and Grill. This is what it looks like inside. I don't know where the bands played. This is the grill part, I guess. But that's another famous one that a lot of bands played in. Actually, a little bit interesting what you were saying, Gary, about you were quite young and you couldn't get in some of these venues, because I think in the earlier 70s, it's notorious for underage people being in these bars. Like Led Zeppelin had the 14-year-old girls in there. And
Oh, yeah. I was a dude. That was the biggest problem. And it was like, I was in there in the 80s. So they were cracking down on it a little more. And plus I was a guy. Girls could get in. Didn't matter what.
Yeah. It was pretty much everything goes. And because one of the main clubs that started a lot of this was Rodney Bingenheimer's English Disco, which I don't know if I've got a picture of, but that was set up in 72. I always thought Rodney Bingenheimer was Rodney Dangerfield, so I got a bit of a shock when I saw their pictures. Wait a minute. There's the Roxy, which another hugely influential. But Bingenheimer's, he set it up in 72, and they played all British. There's the Jam and the Dickies. That would have been
Jam.
great.
Yeah, that was a fun lineup.
Been awesome. The Selector, I've seen them live too. Yeah. So these, when he set that up, he played all the English and British glam rock, and it attracted the likes of Alice Cooper, Iggy, the Stooges, the New York Dolls, and there was a huge scene happening at the Rodney Bingenheimers, and I think out of that grew almost the two separate things, the punk and the glam metal that became hair metal. But yeah, look at these fantastic. There's the whiskey, and again, it doesn't look big. It's not a huge venue.
No.
Most
No,
of
it's
the
not a
best
big
shows I
place.
saw were small venues.
Yeah,
Back.
and you could imagine being crammed in there watching Metallica or somebody, or Motley Crue. It must have been pretty exciting stuff.
I think I got lucky where I was at in New York, because the one venue we had called the Chance Theater wasn't actually that. It was an old theater, so it had a balcony area. It had the open floor. It had a slightly raised up section with some tables and chairs, and then the bar. So we actually had a little bit of room, but not enough, because you get a band like Testament coming through, you couldn't move through the place.
Yeah,
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
The same thing with the Palladium in Worcester.
Yep, I was just going to bring up the Palladium. That's funny that you said that. I saw the Dickies play there actually.
Nice.
But there's a place called the Trocadero. The Troc. There's like that too in Philly.
I'd just like to welcome our executive producer, the wonderful Mr. Darius Munchausen. How are you, mate? You get the longest clip, by the way.
Well, thank you. Wow, I'm honored.
How is Belfry getting on?
He hasn't come back yet, but I might build him a bat box. Or I'll have Culture Casino make a video on making bat boxes.
Yeah.
You can make one with his beard.
We could. Yeah, I love watching Culture working the wood, don't you?
He's really good at it.
So, Darius, my friend, have you ever been to the Sunset Strip?
No, I don't think so. I went to Los Angeles once back in 2014, but that was for a school trip, because we were going to like game companies. And no, I don't think I saw the Sunset Strip.
No. Well, neither did I. And,
I've seen pictures though,
Sorry.
videos and documentaries.
I've seen documentaries about it. Yeah. So that scene was all. It was certainly. I can put this back up again. Oh, you don't want to see me. Certainly thriving through the mid-70s. It was rock and roll heaven, I guess. And it must have been like incredible party town. And out of that, you started to get certain bands making their mark. One of whom, of course, was Van Halen, who, like, I think from 73 onwards were really starting to make a name for themselves in the strip and to dominate. And whilst I would never call Van Halen hair metal specifically, or even glam metal, I think they became the template or the prototype for a lot of that music. And,
I think that's fair to say. Yeah, certainly Eddie changed the way people play guitar.
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of see them and Guns N' Roses as like the bookend of the glam hair metal era.
Yeah.
Like they bookend it. Sorry, Gary.
Well, no, it's like when I was super young. I was 7, I think, when they hit the scene. When Van Halen, so like I have a sister that's 5 years older than me, so she was the one going to LA in the 70s.
Right.
I have no idea what she was having, all kinds of fun. But like he would introduce me to these bands. Like I had an almost famous moment where my sister like said, "Stop listening to freaking soundtracks and listen to rock." But I remember Van Halen like just being a super group almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like being could sell out stadiums almost immediately, and running with the devil. Even as a kid, I was like, well, "Damn, that's cool."
Yeah. When I heard that album for the first time, it absolutely blew my mind. I mean, I was already into metal, but it's still in my top 5 albums of all time. It just destroyed me, and it's to my endless regret that it took me 30 years to see them live.
That is a band I was luckily got to see live as well.
Yeah.
It was during the Van Hagar period, but I still got to see Van Halen live.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I
good
did
show.
see. Yeah.
They've got the song "Hot for Teacher,"
was.
so that was brought up a lot in my life.
I'll bet. Yeah. And who wouldn't be, Courtney? Who wouldn't be?
And I'll be the heretic on this one and go. I actually like Van Hagar a little more.
I know somebody like that.
You can be the heretic. I nothing against Hagar himself, but
It's true. I love Sammy. I just don't. I love Sammy as an artist. I loved Montrose. I like Chicken Foot. Halen is Dave Lee Roth. That's the ideal. But they played all those clubs and they had the flyers and they were doing the cassette tapes, which was all part of that scene. And you've got all those great recordings of them playing cover versions in the Roxy in '75 and whatever. And I think a lot of those guys that went on to be in the metal bands must have been in there watching them. They were a little bit ahead of them, but they, you know, it always takes somebody to start that scene. And then you had in 1980, for instance, bands like AC/DC, Rush, Cheap Trick playing the Starwood. New wave of British heavy metal bands were starting to play over there too. There's a mural they've put up for it, Eddie and Sunset. Starting to play at those gigs, and now we're getting into the wonderful stuff.
Stephen,
Right.
he lived. I was told, I never saw the man, but he like lived in my neighborhood when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting picture. They were actually from San Diego, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the reason they're first in these pictures is they were formed in 73, so kind of stretching back a little bit, you know. And
Hey, you should
don't
put
have any.
Nerdrotic up somewhere with someone who's using just an icon.
We're not covering him up.
He keeps getting
Am I
covered.
covering him up?
I don't care.
Put the people that actually are showing their faces up top, and then
You can
people
put
that
me
I
down there.
treat all my guests the same.
Here, I'll put myself at the bottom.
Darius is an executive producer. He's got the power. Sorry, Gary, we weren't trying to cover you up. But,
It's okay. I don't.
but yeah, so these bands, there's a bunch of bands you could count, and I'm really looking at either hair metal bands or bands that became moved there to become popular. But most of them are from California. I've never seen Rat live. I don't know if anybody has, but
They were all right.
not one of my favorites. But they did have an influence, and
I saw a lot of these bands later on when they did like reunion stuff.
Oh
yeah, this is it.
I saw, like a lot of these hair bands. I saw like when they were technically they were better. You know, it's strange. Concerts. I know they're supposed to sound better now, and they don't. And
No.
probably because I'm seeing a lot of reunion bands and voices that like you know, GNR. I love GNR, but I can't go to any of their reunion shows. I can't listen to Axl because it'll kill me.
Have
So-
you heard that new song they put out? It's like not new, but it was called Hard School.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very like punk sounding. I actually I dig that song. I thought that was pretty
I
good.
did. You know what? I liked parts of Chinese Democracy. You want to be a heretic?
Well, it took them long enough to make it. So
Yeah.
some of
Everybody's
it should
taking
be
my
good.
job.
yeah.
Yeah, Paradis is supposed to be the one shitting on all this.
I think we have Darius has popped back in. He's put the executive producer. He comes in and out as he pleases. But yeah, I couldn't listen to Axl now. I've watched some of the videos of those shows, and it's like, what's he trying to do? Is it just gone, or is he trying to do something different? You know,
I couldn't believe he actually fronted AC/DC for a couple of tours.
he did. He was sitting in a throne because his leg was in plaster.
Yeah.
But I mean, is that really AC/DC when
No.
it's Angus Young and
No.
nobody else?
It's like the
No.
Alter Bridge version of AC/DC.
Yeah.
It's not been the same since Malcolm.
No.
I mean, I love
absolutely
Angus. Don't get me wrong, but Malcolm for me was the heart and soul of that band.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, they were playing a lot in the strip. And everybody was playing there. Big, huge bands like AC/DC and Rush. So that scene was really kicking off. Metal was dominant, but there was the punk side going on at the same time too, which we'll get
Right.
into later, I hope. But
Well, my understanding was that it was mostly punk bands at the end of the 70s, and then the clubs started to notice there was a lot of violence, and so they stopped booking punk bands, which opened the door for what became the hair metal bands.
they had riots. There were riots, I believe.
Yep.
Punk riots. And I don't know, Gary, if you saw any of that stuff, but
Not in LA, not the Balboa riots.
Yeah.
Those were bad. But little skirmishes down in San Diego, yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. And there was a lot of antagonism, I think, between the punks and the metal guys at that
Yep.
stage.
Yes. Tons.
Yeah, at that stage, there were two mutually exclusive groups. It wasn't until Thrash later that there was a crossover, I think.
Yeah, a lot of my I had a lot of older friends that kind of got me into punk, and a lot of them really looked down on me for like being a huge Motley Crue fan and stuff like that, because they're like, back in the day that was not allowed, and I'm like, but I don't care. Their first album is awesome.
That's continued even into the early '90s in my neck of the woods. But instead of it being the punkers, it was the New York hardcore scene and the metalheads. Because the
Yeah.
one of the show,
I
and it was a bunch
I
of
know a lot
local
of the New York
bands.
hardcore. Yep.
Like Morpheus Descends were playing a gig, and my friend's band were playing, and one band got to play because a riot broke out between the hardcore kids and the metal kids.
That always happened, I feel like, on the East Coast.
So up in
Yeah.
Boston, it was always the punks versus the straight edge guys, which is weird. But there was actually a lot of fights that used to happen up in there, up in Boston in the '90s too.
I remember because that's when I lived in Boston.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
so
you were up there.
I lived above the Rat Scaler for Rat. So I saw plenty of punk show, like 96, 97, 98.
Yes,
But
the
we're
Rat
doing
Killer.
California.
The Rat Killer is in the Ruttles. It's where the Ruttles played in Hamburg in the Rat Killer. Literally a cellar full of rats, as they said in the Ruttles. So Papa Cotton, I do love Papa Cotton's contributions because he's saying there's no such thing as hair metal. It's glam rock dressed up. And that is a very interesting point because what really is hair metal? Is it a look? Is it a sound? Is it just glam rock with a bit more volume? You know?
It's a bunch of really bands that went really mainstream and wanted to get more in touch with the hard rock and mainstream rock and roll side of the house. And they dressed up they all had long hair, all had makeup on, and it was just kind of the look of the era. I think they kind of did extend out of glam rock in a lot of ways. But musically, it is, in fact, heavy metal.
Yeah, they did, and I do like. There's Quiet Riot who I actually do like, particularly as they covered a couple of Slade songs and the hits with them because Slade were nothing in America. But
well, I mean, you can't shit on Quiet Riot too hard. Randy Rhoads founded them, so
well, exactly. So Randy Rhoads was the founder, and I think they're a pretty damn good band. I didn't see them with him in them, but I have seen them, and it was a good laugh. It was good fun. I will not complain about them.
And they've had a couple really good albums too. Like Metal Health is right up there.
Yeah,
I have that on vinyl. I'm not going to lie. So
yeah, they weren't a bad band at all. I do have an image that I do want to share. It's particularly for Darius's benefit, which is this is on the Strip sometime in the mid '70s, and it's a lot of groupies. But the thing that's interesting for me about this is that guy there is Dave Hill, the lead guitarist of Slade. So here he is taking full advantage of the groupies, you know, because they don't get this in Birmingham.
You can't let them go to waste.
So that's one for you, Darius, because you know who Slade are.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think the first time we met, you were telling me all about Slade.
Yeah, and Quiet Riot loved them too, so they had a couple of hits with Slade songs. We're not gonna, no, that's it. So where were we? Oh yeah, so Quiet Riot.
Come on, Feel the Noise.
Come on, Feel the Noise, and Mama, We're All Crazy Now.
Yeah,
the two that they covered. I like those versions, but the original, I always insist on the originals whenever
I think it's funny that Come On, Feel the Noise is the most popular song Quiet Riot's ever done.
Yeah,
and it's a cover.
And it's a cover
I have
of a
to
Slade
tell
song.
you that I saw Quiet Riot later on. I saw them at the Middle East in Boston, actually, downstairs at the Middle East. And I can't think of his name, the singer's name. What's his name again? We were just saying it. Anyway, he definitely has hair plugs. He had hair plugs. This is like 20 years ago now, but we were making fun of the fact that because he had been losing his hair for a while, and he was looking up pretty.
Hair plugs, that's the coward's way out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
there's at least one guy in the black metal scene with a skullet, so.
Oh no!
Yeah,
why not? It's a black metal scene. That's fine.
No, it's actually really not on that one, Gary.
No one's going to see it, so it doesn't matter.
What's a skullet? I don't know what a skullet
Hulk
is.
Hogan's hairstyle was a skullet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The ring right here is just long.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right,
Yeah, the singer's Pest of Gorgoroth.
It's the monk circle, the monk's circle.
Rest in peace, Kevin Dubrow. Don't do coke ever, or especially over the age of 40. So,
indeed.
Very bad for you.
Indeed. It's wise words.
In R.I.P. Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
Randy
I know.
Rhoads.
That was a shocker.
Death by misadventure.
Rock stars should never fly or go in planes ever.
Ever.
Yeah,
the sheer number of those that have been killed just in plane crashes alone is insane. Like you were just saying the other day, 70s, Stevie Ray Vaughan's death
His
anniversary
anniversary was a
days
few
ago.
days ago. Yeah, he died in a plane crash. Yeah, I miss Stevie
Helicopter.
very badly.
Yeah, it was just useless too. He could have drove. Same with
Mm.
Kobe Bryant. Breaking news though, we have Ozzy Osbourne's
Kobe.
leaving America because of the gun violence.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, he's scared. He's in fear.
In fear.
Has he ever walked down the street in London? Because there's a lot of knife violence there.
No, Ozzy doesn't even know where the hell he is. He probably thinks he's in London right now.
Right?
And just tell him you're in London now. Okay, John, thank you.
We mention
Probably
somebody
said-
we mention.
Probably said something about all the gun violence in America, and it's like, Ozzy, you know you live in California, right?
Yeah.
What?
You don't live
It's
in
banned. Gun violence is banned there.
It's very bad.
I'm still sad about Kobe. Kobe was my graduating class. We were the same school district, like same
Yeah.
age and everything. Still sad.
Sad about Kobe
Sorry.
too. Don't do cork or heroin. I agree, Sentinel.
Yep.
Especially at the same time. Do
Doing the same thing. Isn't that a speedball we used to call it?
Well, what-
Speedball?
yeah. What,
Harry, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. So
That's what killed Belushi.
yeah.
Yeah.
What Pat told me about Lemmy was he was doing so much speed that his doctors actually recommended towards the end of his life, just don't quit. Like it would be harder on your body if you quit. So just keep going at this
Keep
point.
going.
Yeah, it's one of those things that quitting might actually kill you.
Yes.
I remember them talking about when the Eagles reunion when they got back together in like I don't know 82 or whatever. That Joe Walsh was so out of it because had done so much coke and he was off it, but he just they sat him in the corner and he just sat there all day because he couldn't do anything. He was so out of it, you know. He was shaking like this.
I have a quick interruption just for one moment, if you guys don't mind, because I have a certain someone that is chatting with me at the moment, and he's about to head to Greece.
All right.
It's Sammy Town, the singer of the band Fang.
Oh,
Okay.
Fang. We're gonna do a Fang section later. I've got some
Yeah,
stuff.
if
Yeah.
anyone has any questions right now that I can write to him, he'll answer them. If in the private chat or something, but yeah, he's getting ready to go to Greece. So,
Okay.
but he can't remember his first show. I think that's funny.
Is he going on tour or is it just a holiday?
No, he's taking his kids. Well, they're adults.
Oh, right. It's a holiday. Yeah,
That must have been a good show.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he was, a partier for a long time. He's sober now. Proud of him.
So any questions for Sammy Town? Get those in.
Yeah. Do you know the band Fang, Gary?
Not familiar with Fang. No.
We got a little bit of stuff to play from them.
Are they Bay Area? I'll have to check them out. Yeah.
Yeah. So Quiet Riot won the World Cup of California Hair Metal Round 1. Round 2 should be getting posted soon.
I don't know if I mean, like hair metal was so beloved by some and I looked down on most of it, to be honest with you, at the time. Like when it started when I was in junior high, so I kind of liked everything, but then I became super music snob, punk rocker, hardcore guy. So I'm like, hair bands.
I agree, Gary. I mean, when I was I think this was the era when I was about 17, 18. I'd been into Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Motorhead, a lot of punk stuff, denim clad metal. Guys that wore denim, and then this stuff came along with makeup and whatever, and I thought, this is just shit. This isn't metal. I think I've grown to appreciate a lot of it more over the years since.
Same here.
But at the time, I was like, no way, this is just not it. That's why Thrash was a relief, because it was back to black T-shirts and
T-shirts,
loud
jeans,
noise.
and white Reebok high tops.
Yep.
So
The
just
unofficial
let me-
uniform of Thrash.
I can smell the hairspray in that picture. Dear God.
Oh yeah. It's a good thing these guys didn't use any pyro at their shows, or they probably wouldn't have survived
Well,
the 80s.
Great whites.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that was sad.
So who knows who this band are?
That's Cinderella, isn't it?
Close, but not quite. This is actually London.
Oh wow, yeah.
Nicky Six's band that he formed. This is London. And that, no idea what that wolf is doing there, but
To make these guys look even harder than they look already.
that's right.
Keep it there.
This was very much the era of like metal, of like especially band photos where like it doesn't need to make sense, just roll with it.
No, and they were a big scene. They were big on the strip, apparently.
I've seen enough oddball band photos to last me a lifetime.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
probably a real wolf too.
Yeah, it probably was. It was drugged though, probably drugged. It's just,
Let's get the wolf pie, dude.
actually, the wolf was probably the bassist. But,
Keyboardist.
Yeah.
Those are my boys. Well,
yeah, that's your boys.
Hey, 70s, we have someone else joining us.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. Can I play the clip?
You can play the clip. Welcome,
Welcome, Joe.
That's
welcome,
right.
Joe.
It's the '70s disco guy. What's happening,
Joe's atmosphere. He loves a party with an atmosphere.
Gary? I know you just had a birthday, but you'll never catch me in '70s. You won't do it.
No,
I'm gonna.
we're
Well, I mean,
continuing.
I could, but I'd rather not that way. You know what I'm saying? So
I understand.
Gotcha.
We're continuing to move forward in
All
time.
right,
We are
Bruce.
time travelers.
Or I could just lose the race
There you
I
go.
was about to say, is that a race you really want to win?
Yeah,
No.
right.
one day.
Nah, man, I shook your hand in Dallas, and I was half in the bag by the time I got to see you. So I know you're in recovery. My wife is in recovery as well, and I was like, "See you
Me
later,
too.
man."
Oh, it's all good.
I didn't want to impose
My
on you.
wife's in the chat. She's a lush.
Is she?
Cool. Honey.
Cool.
I'm 5.5 years without a drink. Well, almost
She's
five and a
a-
half.
is she a lush or is she lush? Those are two different things, Gary.
Yes.
And also a
Yeah,
band.
my wife's
gonna
a
get
compulsive gambler. That's what she is.
Oh no.
Yeah, she's been in recovery 11 years.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yep.
good. Recovery is good, and congratulations. Courtney,
You know it.
on the 5
I've been
years.
in Gam-Anon
Thank
for
you.
11 years, so
Oh, awesome.
I've been spreading the word myself.
I think everybody should go to 12-step program, but that's me.
I lost my job last year at the glass plant I was working at, and so now that's why I got time to work on this comic book. I sent you the posters in an email. Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw them, but
I got them.
yeah.
Yeah.
I figured you'd dig them. They're all American,
All
It's all
American
about freedom. But anyway,
I am. and heroin.
yeah, I work for the rehab that she went through. I'm a resident manager there.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's actually a neat job.
It's fun. It's fun. I get to hang out with the who I lovingly call the degenerates.
Yeah.
So,
That sounds like a good retirement job.
you know what, Bubba? You know
Totally
what? That's why I've got time to work on because I work like 31 hours in 2 days because I'm staying overnight. I'm the boss when the boss not's there.
Nice.
So, yep.
It's good work too.
Good to see you, man. Good to
Hey,
see you.
good
Good
to
to
see
see
you.
all of you. Thanks for having me tonight, 70s.
No problem, my friend. No problem. I'm just I'm trying to figure out how to get the second poll working. But here we go. Just
You said
vamp.
degenerates. Really quick, I had to look it up, but recovered, not reformed. That was the quote that I wanted to think of.
There you go. There you go. That works.
Yeah.
And
So
speaking of degenerates, we got Wasp.
Wasp, yeah, who I do like.
I
I do
really
too.
enjoy Wasp a lot.
I did too.
They had the
You
look
like
of
it
hair
with-
metal, but not the sound.
No, they were actually a full-on metal band that came out of California.
It's like they were like the evil hair metal band. It was weird.
And yes, what we just us Wasp fans would like to apologize in advance for the parental guidance label on all of your shit.
Right?
That
There's
was
a
kind
cause
of
of it.
kind of our fault.
Didn't
Yeah,
they
but
fall
everybody
afoul
else
of?
was-
Didn't they fall afoul of Tipper Gore?
Their first record was what she walked in on her son listening to that spawned the whole thing.
Well,
Right.
Who is the I can't remember her name right now. The one lady that was really big into the censorship thing, but she was also the girl that was like on the car in the Whitesnake video.
Oh,
Oh, my
Tawny
God.
Katane?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tawny
she
Katane.
was like
Yeah,
all big
Tawny.
about that, but she was one of the I won't say the word, but the girls, I'll just say on the car. The
She was
sexy
auditioning
women
for
on
a
the
Bat-
car.
She was
was
auditioning for a Batman movie.
Tawny Katane was from San Diego. May she rest in peace. By the way, she has passed.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh dear, that's a
But,
shame.
yeah, I'm pretty sure she was like conservative for a little while.
Yes.
After Coverdale, of course.
Yes.
Wild
He's a
children
funny
like
guy,
that
Coverdale.
always end up conservatives, don't they?
They do.
I kind of like Coverdale. He seems
Not
like
me.
an okay guy. He screwed over his original band, who I saw him with, Mick Moody and Bernie Marsden. He screwed them over, but other than that, oh, no.
He was screwing over all of his mates.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So I
Poison.
included Poison because although they're not from LA, they moved to the Strip, so they
They're
kind
from
of
PA.
adopted it. Yes, that's right. But they adopted the Strip, and the Strip
And
adopted
people
them.
can make fun of them all they want, but CC DeVille was really fun to party with back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Well, that's one thing you can say about these bands. Even if you didn't like the music of any of them, they knew how to party. They partied hard.
And they partied with some of the pros too. I remember when the Motley Crue came out with The Dirt a couple of years ago, that scene where, like, they're all sitting there watching Ozzy take snort a line of ants off the sidewalk, and they're just like, we really wish this was one of the parts that we lied about. Unfortunately, it's not.
That's a great book. And the movie was
Yeah, snorting the ants. Yeah, but well, beats biting the head off a bat. But
That's
there's a touch of Duran Duran here. I feel in this picture. Don't you feel?
Yeah,
like,
especially the guy on the left.
Yeah.
He looks
The guy with the
Duran Duran.
guitar. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Let's see. It's not a look I like, but
No.
it's a bit much.
About
It's
the
a bit
most
much.
metal thing about the bands is either the leather pants or the aviators.
That's right.
look at the guitars though. Come on. I mean,
I know.
that green guitar is so much
Yeah, that
more-
bass is.
What is
insane.
that? What is that one?
I have
I
no
just-
idea what it is. It looks
It's-
cool though.
It looks like a kind of an explorer. Well, it's obviously an explorer type, but I don't know what the hell it is. Though.
Yeah, it's
Explorer basses are freaking awesome.
Oh, they are. Yeah. Now, Seminole
LA Guns.
band. Seminole, LA Guns. Much more metal than here, I would say, but
Yep.
I love it.
much more metal.
Never
than here.
really like got that big, but they had some really good albums. They were good.
Yeah, and then, of course, their counterparts,
Yep.
Hollywood Rose. I'm going to make an admission. I didn't know for 20 years that Guns N' Roses were called Guns N' Roses because the two bands merged. I had no
Yeah.
idea. It just
Yeah,
never
that's
occurred
why I
to
was
me.
hollering LA Guns when you were going to do this show. I was like, yes, Guns N' Roses.
I had no idea that's what happened. But so you had Axl and Izzy, and then Slash and Steven Adler were in Hollywood Rose at various times. So it just I it's obvious now, Guns N' Roses, but
Yes.
but there was no internet in those days, so
It's like Jeopardy stupid answers.
Have like your rock magazines, didn't you read?
Oh, we did, but I just for some reason it slipped right by me. I think it's because I'd never heard of Hollywood Rose, because Guns N' Roses were big.
I
but
read
the
more of
other
like
two weren't.
MRR, which wasn't more. That was more fun.
Striper.
Hey, Striper, left
Striper.
field.
Wow.
A
The
band I've done a
bumblebees
stream
of
on.
rock and roll. Yes.
Yeah,
That picture is fascinating.
it's something.
It's fabulous.
I give these
And yet-
guys credit for being a little bit different in that they were openly Christians in the metal scene in the 80s.
Yeah.
And,
didn't-
that took a lot of courage to do.
Didn't Brett Michaels once audition for them or something?
I think he did, yeah.
I think he did, yeah, which would have been funny. But
Yeah.
Putting Brett Michaels in Striper would be an interesting combo.
That would actually get me even to listen to him just for the
Just sheer hilarity.
yeah.
Now, these guys are from Orange County, which so it's a little bit different, I believe.
Back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say,
But,
Michael Sweet's one hell of a guitar player.
He
Not a
is.
bad singer either.
Yeah, I've got to give him credit. He's not that bad. But yeah, definitely doing their own thing, and I admire that, even if I'm not particularly a big fan. Warrant were a pretty good band, though. Quite like Warrant.
Yeah, they were better than I had any idea of, because I only knew of Cherry Pie until I
Yep.
actually listened to more of their work. They were actually a serious band, and they hated
Yeah.
that song at least as much as any of us.
I
Yeah.
think they
I-
did
there's
that
another
because
one I
the
saw
record.
live later
I think that was one of the ones that they did because the record company told them it would sell, and they did it, and then no one knew them for anything else after
Right.
that.
Right, right. Because the album was called Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it was
That's
already completed. And the record wanted, or the label, they wanted a radio hit. And so he
Yeah.
wrote it in something like 20 minutes. and it was such a big hit that they renamed the album, and they put out the video, and then they had like Cherry Pie on tours, and he hated it.
So, do you think you could get away with making an album called Uncle Tom's Cabin in these days?
Nope.
In
No.
this day and age?
No.
No.
Not if you're
No, you'd be canceled
Caucasian.
immediately.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's probably the record I hear the most songs from on the hair metal station on Sirius. Every time I turn it on, I hear something off that album.
Yep.
Every time.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's good.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a solid record.
It's like Papa Cotton. Every band mentioned so far would have been an ass whooping in middle school.
Yes. Yes.
He's right, he's not wrong.
Well, so we'd be talking about Star Trek or comic books. So
Exactly. I mean,
Let's
you
fix to say
know-
we got beat up for it back then, didn't we?
We did.
Being
Well,
a nerd. Yeah.
well, except me, because I was also on the hockey team. So
Oh,
Yeah,
there
that's
you
true.
go.
I got beat up for being a nerd, but I was heavily into music, and that saved me because I was so into
I had
music.
rocks thrown at me. They didn't really beat up the girls too much.
I got 4 letters for
Yeah.
you. ROTC.
Yep.
Yeah, I got punched.
Okay.
you'd be surprised how many Marines I served with that are freaking nerds. Like we were sitting there at a range one day having like a 3-hour conversation about some Star Trek.
yeah. Oh yeah.
When I was in the Air Force, it was all nerds I joined up with. These guys were all into Star Trek, Doctor Who, music, you name it, Star Wars. We were all nerds.
It was no accident that wherever there was a major base, especially near a big city, there'd be 3, 4, 5, 6 comic stores right near it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
Well, especially the Marine bases, because the books have pictures now.
Yeah. So the,
Mrs. Rock fans
story,
sneaking around the desk here, so nobody will see her.
And there's a lot of music crossover too. My dad owned a record store up in Norfolk area in Denby.
Yep.
And he said he made more money off of guys coming in buying bootlegs of The Cure and stuff. In the 90s, because they would spend their whole paycheck in there on bootlegs. Yeah, crazy.
For the internet, that's how we heard weird songs and like Pink Floyd bootlegs. I spent my life looking for those until the internet. I was like, damn.
Yeah, we
Someone's
swapped
not fun.
text.
Yeah.
We swapped
It's
tapes.
kind
I was in forums in the early days of the internet, just text forums where people would just swap tapes with each other and mail them to each other. I had thousands of those live gigs that they recorded, and it was a fantastic scene when you think about it. Now everything's so easy to access online. Then it was like, oh God, found a guy that's got this Los Lobos show at the Fillmore. I really want that. And I'd send him something I'd recorded in Britain at Judas Priest or something, or some gig, and it was fun then. Whereas now it's all just there,
I did that a bunch with that, but pre-internet even. Like, if you would go in publications like Maximum Rock and Roll, where they had Slug and Lettuce. If you went in the back of those magazines, like I had pen pals, you'd meet people because there was no other way to meet people into the same music. Or there was I think it was called Book Your Own Effing Life. I probably just said it, but where you could if you were traveling to different areas, you could meet up with the punks or people in the scene and find places to stay. But I got so many I had some guy in England that just mailed me a whole bunch of old punk T-shirts and stuff that you could not find at all. And this is the early 90s, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, once the internet came, I get a little I still get bitter about it but people didn't have to do the work like we did. We used to have to go to record stores and flip through and if you saw something that looked cool, I don't know. I just feel it was such a more hands-on.
I used to read liner notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bands that they were thanking, I would turn and go okay, well, if this band likes these guys and I like them, I'll give them a shot.
Exactly. Those days are just gone, and everything's so accessible.
I used to go over to
now.
Tower Records every Friday, and me and the boys would just pick out a album we liked the cover art for, and then just go listen to it.
I was fixing to say
the one on Mass Ave.
No, the one in Burlington.
Okay.
I love showing people when they come over to the house for the first time. I'll pull out my Paul McCartney and Wings live double album set, and show them that piece of artwork that's the fold open, and that is one of the most gorgeous pieces of artwork I've ever seen. If you guys remember that one,
The triple album.
it's the one you fold
I've got
open,
it,
and
yeah.
it's got that multicolored painting. I didn't know it was a painting for the longest
it's a triple
time. I thought it
album.
was a picture, and it's him and Linda and the band playing on stage. But it's very dark and it's lit with different colors, and it's really gorgeous, man. If you've never seen that, look it up. It's badass looking. I don't know who the artist is, but
I get
stands.
that, and I've got the box set.
Well, there you go.
Of Wings Over
Yes.
America.
Yeah,
And
there you
it's
go.
just
70s
phenomenal.
vinyl collection. He just,
Yep.
oh my gosh.
And
It is phenomenal.
Stan's record shop here in Shreveport, Louisiana, had a bunch of album covers. My favorite painted on the outside of the shop, and the main one downtown Shreveport. And my favorite one was the Steve Miller Band Pegasus on the side of the building. That was badass looking, man.
I think Steve Miller has done a couple of tracks with Paul McCartney on albums like Flaming Pie.
Tower Records is back in that form.
Yep.
Really?
In Japan, it actually never left, and there's this one huge one in Tokyo that's like 8 stories. It's awesome.
It's an online retailer now that sells vinyl and stuff.
Is it Tower?
Wow.
Tower on the Strip is closed though. I mean, that did close.
Yeah. It was still open when I moved to San Francisco in 2002. We had 2 of them. We had one at Stonestown Mall, and then the one by Melissa, what street was it on? The one on the corner. The building's still there. I think it's a freaking Walgreens now, but the mural is still there.
Nice.
Columbus, something like that, somewhere over there. But I miss Tower. I freaking miss Tower. I used to just go to right when I opened my comic store, there was still a Tower Records. The manager would come to my store. I would hang out in his store when I was closed. We'd switch. I miss that place so much. I just spend hours in there just effing around.
For a chain store. They had some really good shit in there, and they had some people who really knew their bit.
And there's another nerd music crossover, because some of the best comic book art I've ever seen was done exclusively for Tower Records.
Or they had toys towards the end. They did have graphic novels.
Yeah. One of the coolest things that Michael Turner ever did was the cover he did for a crossover between Fathom, Laura Croft, the Tomb Raider, and who was the third one? Witchblade. It was a crossover between the 3, and they were posing like Charlie's Angels on the cover of it. Very cool.
Rest in peace.
Yes, one of the greatest artists
Jack
ever.
Kirby did do some album art for I think the Groundhogs was a British band that he did all the album art for. I've got a copy of it. Somewhere that's really good.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. And I have the album that Doctor Strange is on a Pink Floyd album.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
Don't
Pink
you
Floyd
love it when
were,
that happens?
He's like
Pink Floyd are hugely into comics. Yeah.
Yeah. So Steve Ditko's Doctor Strange is not on. I forgot which one it was. I'll have to look it up. But it's hard to find, right? And I can't believe I've had the freaking album, never even noticed it.
And there are references in their songs, I believe, to comics. And also McCartney did meet Kirby, and the song Magneto and Titanium Man and Wings at the Speed of Sound is a comic reference. It's comic references, but he met Kirby a few times. Yeah. So it's there's a crossover. But the thing I liked about working in a record store as a teenager was I got shit pay, but I got all the demos. You could take the demos.
It was kind of the same on I worked between the Newbury Comics and the Tower Records in Boston, but I worked at like the punk rock clothing store. You couldn't know, it wasn't just anybody that could work there. So because when you work there,
it wasn't called sex, was it?
No.
That was
but I know that's in England. That was
the London one.
Yeah.
What's the one you worked at?
It was called Austin Beat.
And where was it?
There was one on Newbury Street in Boston, and then there was one in Harvard Square in Boston.
I know where the one in Harvard Square is.
Yeah, the one on Newbury was where JP Licks used to be, the ice cream store. It was like you would go down from the tower. There was that little open area where people would hang out, and then it was JP Licks. Then it was Austin Beat, and then Newbury Comics was a little further down, all on the same side. But it ruled working there because all these bands would come in, and you'd always get free like you get to go see their shows for free.
Yeah.
So like Sisters of Mercy came in, you know what I mean? Just bands like that, and Iggy
that's
Pop.
awesome.
And I never got to meet Iggy though. I was so upset. But
So you were like the precursor of, the god awful Hot Topic. So like there was retail.
Yeah.
Oh,
but Hot Topic was around then.
It was. My wife worked at a place called Gamma Gamma in Encinitas, which was retail slut. The same thing. You know, it was
Same type of thing.
Your one-stop punk rock shop. That's what it was.
Yeah. And that's how Zipperhead was in Philly, like when we were growing up. So yeah, but it was the same type of thing. And then because I worked there, I would get a lot of the demos and stuff. You know, it was more Newbury Comics actually that I would get it from instead of Tower. But it was just cool. That's a cool time. That was like that was the mid to late 90s for me. But.
Cool. Yeah, working in a record store is good fun. You shit money, but you got lots of demos, lots of posters, promotional posters, lots of invites to gigs, flyers. It was great. All the demos, singles that came in or albums, nobody wanted them, so I took them all.
I miss flyers. I miss the days of the flyers. Like I used to save them all.
I wish I kept them.
I had a flyer where I just lost everything, so I can't even.
I got a few of them. Yeah.
I used to have my walls. This isn't where I live now, but I used to have my walls just covered in flyers from shows.
And they had flyer battles on the strip. So that was the big thing, I believe, that the bands would go out with their flyers and they'd be all in the street every night, handing them out and trying to compete with the other bands. And I think a lot of the bands ended up having to pay to play as well in places like the Roxy. They were, they had to pay because it was a showcase for them. So the Roxy would say, or the Whiskey, well, if you pay us so much money, we'll let you play that night, Saturday night, you know.
I wonder if they did the same thing that
you
with my area, ticket sales.
Yeah, they got to sell merchandise. And
they sold their merch and whatever. So it did work for a lot of those bands. Yeah. So.
I bet you those flyers are collector's items now.
They probably are.
Some of the stuff that I had would have been.
It was still a good trade-off for the band. They probably made
yeah.
tons of money. So.
Well, this is it. If you had a lot of record promoters down there as well and watching, it's good.
And what they'd also wouldn't mention is they spent all that money on drugs, and then they complain about I got screwed over by the record company, which they did, but you also spent all your money on drugs. So
I owe the record company $50,000. $10,000 was for studio costs, and the rest was drugs.
With drugs. Dawkins.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Yeah.
I like Dawkins.
I don't. I know Razor Fist loves Dawkins. I know a lot of people love Dawkins.
I love Dawkins.
I love Dawkins. Yes.
Never a Dawkins fan.
Yeah, same.
I like George Lynch, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I like Jeff Pilsner. Was it Pilsner?
I saw him live. I saw him open for Aerosmith, and I still didn't like him.
What is it about them you don't like?
Way too glammy. And that was it. I mean, like I was a thrasher, right? So like even like the quote unquote hair bands I liked were somebody brought up Shout at the Devil, like Motley Crue Shout at the Devil.
Yeah, that's the crew I love.
That's the kind of shit I like. Yeah. When Guns N' Roses kind of brought it together again, I was like, okay, when they were like the Rolling Stones of this era, I was like, all right, I love this fucking band.
Possibly the last real true hard rock band.
Yep.
Guns N' Roses.
At least
of that kind.
At least into the 21st century, yeah. Because like there's a bunch of bands from the mid 2000s like The Sword or Airborne that are more on the hard rock side of things, but
they've never
as
reached
popular
the peaks.
though.
No,
I think we've discussed before, Pope, on some of your shows that Appetite for Destruction is one of those perfect albums.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Every
where they knocked
track
it out of
on
the
it
park.
could have printed money if they released it as a single. You know.
Oh, I mean, it's like they knocked it out of the park on their first try, and unfortunately, they never got anywhere.
They
near
never got near
again.
that again. But yeah, that first one was wow.
But Gary made
amazing.
a good comparison to the Stones. I mean, I'd say the Stones, Aerosmith, and Guns N' Roses being a lineage there.
Yeah.
Of that kind of band, and there's not many bands like that.
And Aerosmith with GNR was Chef's Kiss. Saw them at the Hollywood Bowl.
There's a band, a Canadian band, Pursuit of Happiness. They're quite good.
I just saw Dead Milkmen. They're Philly.
And my eyes immediately went to Man of War.
And mine went to Dark Angel.
And Dark Angel, both of whom we'll be talking about later.
Yeah.
But nobody went to the Toasters. Poor Toasters.
Poor Toasters.
These are some examples of flyers and posters. There's not many online. There's a few, but I found some interesting ones. But this is what would be printed up and handed out, and I loved that scene. This is
I
more
used to
professional
print them
poster.
out for my weekly punk night that I did, and go literally put them on poles, and I mean that was the thing.
I just saw the date on that thing. I feel so old.
You should. I do too.
I was a junior in high school in '82, man. Wow.
I had a guy shopping at my store. He owned every poster from the Fillmore.
Nice.
Ooh,
That's cool.
Everyone. Yeah.
He's
Some of
probably
those
got
are
some
worth a
pretty
fortune.
legendary shows on there too.
wow.
Did you'll have Hendrix and guys like that? I would imagine.
Oh wow, Iron Butterfly.
With Quiet
Iron
Riot,
Butterfly,
Fire
yeah.
Montana.
A lot of doom metal bands.
The
around Iron
Ramones.
Butterfly.
There we go.
The
At the
goat.
whiskey a go go.
The goat.
Look out.
Because
I got to see them twice.
Big
Twice.
Ramones are the greatest. They are the greatest
seen
punk
the
rock
Ramones,
band who
yeah.
ever lived.
Yeah.
Now you want to talk about a band I don't like Gary doesn't like Dokken. It's Rat.
It's
That
Rat.
guy is so monotone. Oh my god.
the singer does let them down.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of the band sounds great, but he is so monotone. My God.
You should just call him Twat instead
Right?
of Rat. What a great name for a man, though. Twat.
It is. I'm sure it's been used. It
Oh,
has.
wait, hold it.
Ooh, I see
Look at
Racer
that,
X on
man.
there.
Oh,
There's a
wow.
band you don't
See,
see
That's
often.
that.
That kills my
That's
ADD.
crazy.
I kind of want to. My brain's about to stroke out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see Racer
Yeah,
X
that's
in
right,
there.
you
I know
gotta-
who they
you-
are.
You have to read
Yeah.
every one of these.
Okay.
Oh my God. Kicks is in there. Good Lord. Wow.
Yeah, I'm
Very
just seeing
true.
this and cringing at most of it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
That was the
Alcatraz
scene,
is
though.
good.
Bad Boys.
Alcatraz. Yeah. I know that one.
For the-
Thanks, Razor.
You see
I
what's
like
dead
Big Boy.
center though? It's Motley Crue with Guns N' Roses right under them.
Yeah, Jet Boy around there. Jet Boy.
Racer X was big speed metal band.
Ooh,
Yeah, with
autograph.
Paul Gilbert.
Oh,
Legs Up. They sound good. Is that an all-girl band?
Oh, the Bullet Boys. Oh, bloody hell. Oh, oh God.
Shanghai.
We are absolutely triggering Emeritus right now.
Oh,
Triggering
Enemies
everybody
are
now.
Horrible.
boy,
I
man.
gotta just set up another quick poll here. Keep talking.
Shit.
I
Oh my
can't
gosh.
find much good stuff on here.
I can't
My
find
opinion.
any
Virgin.
LA
outside
Guns,
outside of
Molly
Alcatraz.
Crew,
Okay, old
GNR.
crew, yeah.
I'm not- I was never
Yeah.
huge, like as obsessed with GNR as everybody else, but
Steeler as well. To a
Oh,
lesser
yeah.
I like the
extent.
Spaghetti Incident album. That's my favorite.
I
'Cause I
They
love the
covered,
covers.
Spaghetti incident.
they
love the
covered like
covers.
the Dead Boys and stuff. I think didn't they?
Yeah, they cover Since I Don't
Dead
Have
Boys are
You.
my
They do
favorite.
Nazareth's Hair of the Dog. I love that album.
I thought that was a cool album too.
It is
Who
a cool
knew
album.
it'd be like officially kind of their last? So,
Yes.
Yeah, kind of.
Very much
yeah.
so.
I mean, really their last. Let's be real. It was a
Okay.
contractual
There's
obligation.
nothing good on here. I'm disappointed.
Snakes.
I
Race
used to-
X. There's Wasp. I
Yeah,
just
Wasp
watched
is
the
there.
Wasp thing right
If it
there.
was just X, but not rated X. I heard you playing X in the intro.
I
that
did
was cool.
too. X is awesome. Extreme.
My friend is their manager.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Still around?
But
Are they still around? Like the full group? Because they like for a while it was just Exene, DJ Bonebreaker, and John Doe.
John Doe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what you're getting.
But Billy Zoom came in for a while back in the early.
Early 2000s.
Yeah,
I
and we
think.
watched it.
Yeah.
It was great. They were-
I saw them then too. I love Exene.
Yeah,
And
we've got
John Doe
some-
was like a big actor too. Like that was
You know what's really cool about all this is that it's in nightclubs that this was being played.
It's all
And
clubs, yeah.
I worked in
That's what-
nightclubs for
I
18
I prefer
years as a
club venues over
bartender,
arena
and,
shows.
Oh, yeah.
The best
absolutely.
the best concert I ever saw was, of course, my favorite band, Foreigner, when they did their greatest hits tour in '91. They the club owner got there was 4 dates they were going to play just to test the waters for a world tour because they hadn't done music in a long time, and my boss got one of them because we had a major club
That's
in
awesome.
the 4 states. And oh my God, man, you knew every song. There was, we'd have pissed off the fire marshal if he'd have showed up that night. They had 500 extra people in 1,000 body joint, but no fights because
Oh,
everybody
that's
was
a-
digging the music, And
So,
that's I always thought that the club music was always I enjoyed that better.
It's
than
always better in the
big
club,
houses.
mate.
Yeah,
Always better, but especially when you see a major band in a club,
Mhm.
it's always the
That's
best.
awesome.
Like
I love this poster.
remember-
Sorry, just to interrupt,
Yeah.
Pope. I love this postal. Heavy metal blood drive. I just think that's awesome.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
But
Sorry,
no,
go ahead, mate.
one of my earliest concerts that I went to was actually Dropkick Murphys. It was a free show.
Oh.
They had announced it the day of,
Great band.
Yes.
and you had to be up at Killington in Vermont like that day, and it was probably like 200-300 people showed up, and they just played on the slopes of Killington. I actually got my 04 World Series hat signed by Ken Casey.
You know,
And, it was
I
just
saw their
such a great
first show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they played with my ex's band at the Rat, and they were kind of getting like heckled because they were saying, oh, Boston skins, blah blah blah, and they were like from Charleston, pretty much like townies. And then within a year, they were like larger than God. But James Lynch, their guitarist, is a buddy of mine. He was married to a good friend of mine, and if you ever need hookups, just talk to me.
Cool.
I can usually pull things off.
I got lucky with one of my early shows. I got to see Slayer in a tiny venue doing their
I saw them
Seasons
at-
in the Abyss album.
Nice.
They were doing like a quick
Yeah.
little club tour before they went on their actual big tour, and I actually got to see that. And I don't think that venue knew what they were getting into that night. As far as
Slayer
the
at
sheer amount,
Lupo's Heartbreak Hotel in what is that, Providence, Rhode Island. That was a pretty cool place to see them. Which small, same type of thing. And where
I
was
used-
the place you saw them?
the Chance in
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Poughkeepsie,
you were
New
talking-
York.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. No matter how well some venues prepare, if the band's big enough, they're not going to be ready for it anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or it's a brand new band and they have no idea what kind of sound they're about to hear. Like, there's been a
It wasn't
couple
even
of-
the sound; it was just the sheer volume of
Oh, yeah.
people.
but, and the sheer volume of the band too.
Because bear in
Well,
mind,
the
it's just Seasons in the Abyss when they've already been established for
True,
5
yeah.
albums, and there was at the time they were still one of the biggest bands in metal.
Yeah.
And here they are playing a venue that holds maybe 3,000 people, maybe.
I also got to see Slayer in a backyard, in Bam Margera's backyard, on the show Viva La Bam, and that was kind of a disappointment actually, because they showed up, everyone, like, they had this huge wall of just sound type of thing like set up behind them, and they did their they did their, what do they call that, the warm up. I'm like having a brain fart right now. But anyway, then when they played 3 songs and they were out. They pieced out. They didn't hang out with anybody. Like, it was a big party. They were filming Viva La Bam and they were gone. It was a bummer.
Wow.
That sounds like Slayer.
sounds
Yeah.
like you got paid.
Man,
That's all it was.
Yeah.
this
So
fire.
it's-
Sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes.
You don't want to meet bands. Dave Mustaine told me to fuck off once, and I actually thought that was
Oh,
kind of on
That's
brand.
kind of like him, though, isn't it?
I was gonna say,
I would
I
cry.
feel like that's a badge of honor.
Yeah,
I used to do the lobby cards for the club I worked at, and if there was somebody coming through that I really liked, I'd draw their portrait on it. That's where I got my start in art, was doing portraits. And I got David Lee Roth's signature. The manager would take them to the back and get them signed, after the show. And man, a lot of these guys, man, they're really cool people, but some of them you don't want to meet. That's for sure.
I've gotten lucky. Almost every band that I've met, maybe it's because it's the underground, that they've all been cool. Like Chuck Billy from Testament is an awesome dude.
Yeah.
George
I got-
Corpse Grinder Fisher and Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse are awesome guys. Like George, especially George, is an absolute fucking riot.
I'll tell you, someone from this flyer right here that was a disappointment was Mike Ness.
really.
Special D. Yeah.
Back in the day when he was loaded, or
Well, this was probably like maybe 99, early 2000 or something. But I saw them play in Boston, and then the next day in Philly, because I went to college in Boston. I went to both shows, and it was basically a staged altercation, and it was the same thing at both shows. Like the same words were said and everything.
Fake.
And it was him
Fake,
fighting like the Nazi skinheads. You know what I mean? And it was, after that, I was like, "You're lame, man." Like, that was really.
yeah, there's no Nazi skinheads in '99. Okay, bro.
No.
Well, we had the AC skins in like Philly. There were like
Maybe on the East Coast. There wasn't on the West Coast. They were gone.
yeah, on the East Coast. There we go. Sorry.
So we're starting to. So
If we
now
go
we're
back
getting
to that old
into
flyer,
the punk scene, which covered both the Strip and the Bay Area. Of course, they played everywhere. But
that flyer before I saw 4 of those bands. The Vandals. I don't know if Melissa's in the chat. My wife got a massive black eye. I'm pretty sure it was the Vandals show. Somebody stage dived or something. She got a boot in the face. So there's a picture of it on her Facebook. She's got blue hair back when blue hair was fucking cool. It's not anymore. With a big old shiner. And she just kind of gone, she looking like a hardcore punk rock girl she was. Yep. I saw Dead Kennedys at a place called Wabash Hall in San Diego. And they would yeah, you're right. Like club owners would stop booking. So the punk rock bands had to go to like Masonic temples and boys clubs. And we would get in the biggest fights with the Nazi skinheads because Tom Metzger, if you can remember that name at all, he was in Fallbrook, which is like Northern California, and he was running a radio show called the War. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. It was called the White Aryan Resistance. So he'd have this piped-in radio, and he'd sell cassette tapes, and all the skinheads would fucking listen to him. And they'd be waiting for us outside, especially Dead Kennedys, this fuck Nazi punk. And got my
I used to have it all the time in Philly, like because of the Atlantic City had a big like all the time. Speaking of
that hasn't changed.
Fights at shows though, before I forget, one of the things that because you brought it up before, one of the things that Sammy Town had said about Fang is there was a riot at a show. He said in St. Paul, we destroyed a car. The whole club went out and fought the jocks. The jocks were also a thing at one point.
Yes.
He's talking years before, but
yeah, we kind of curb stomped the skinheads out of the scene in this area real quick.
The punk and metal scene around here. I mean, hell, Dropkick did a fucking song about it. Skinhead on the MTA.
Yep, that's a good song.
It is a good song. It's one of the early ones.
Early Dropkicks. That was
I think I've owned every one of their albums that they did through like 2005 because I got into them when I was really young. Because I think I first heard of them when they first came out in like '96. So
love that.
Yeah, I was in college then. That's when I saw that was I think their first show.
But yeah, that's a long and proud tradition in the punk and metal community is beating the crap out of the skinheads when they misbehave.
Oh, that's a long-standing thing in Britain too. You know, skinheads right back to the late '60s.
I bet.
First of all, fighting with the metal guys, and then later on the punks. They say Sham 69 were associated with the skinhead thing, but they disowned it.
Yeah, but they weren't like associated. Well, I guess they're oi music. That's how I look at it.
It's Jimmy Percy, but I've seen both of those bands live.
Yeah, I've seen.
Are any of these places on the Strip still open?
Yeah,
the Whiskey A Go Go and the Rainbow still are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it House of Blues still open?
House of Blues might be. I'm not sure about the Roxy. I know that there's the Roxy that had to close because of a roach infestation. One of them had. One of them was pretty bad.
It's a shame. I'll never see them though. I wouldn't go to LA.
I'm glad I went there and saw a couple of them before they closed, like the Roxy.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd gone back in the day because the whiskey's legendary, you know.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting band, Red Cross, because I've always thought of them more as a kind of a alternative rock, hard rock band. But
Roxy's still open.
Is it?
Roxy's open, is it? Yeah. But the Red Cross have been tied up with a few of these bands, like the Circle Jerks. Red Cross, Greg Hetson of Red Cross formed the Circle Jerks, and I like Red Cross. They do the best Carpenters cover version I've ever heard. Yesterday Once More.
I do love that when punk bands do like a super parody cover of like really pop songs. It's fantastic.
Heavier than the heaviest thing ever. It's great.
And some of them do a really good job with it. Like the Ataris did a cover of Boys of Summer that was actually
I play that all the time. I love that. Yeah. I love that one. Yeah.
Is that the one where they replace they say Black Flag sticker
with Black Flag
Cadillac? Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a sample of the bands that are they predated a lot of the hair metal bands too that were on the Strip.
Check that car, man.
On the Strip, and then they played
59 Chevy.
A lot of them played in the Bay Area too, and in San Diego and places like that. They played up and down the coast, and they had a big scene going, and a lot of them were fairly popular internationally. You know, Dickies, Dead Kennedys, X.
Dead Kennedys.
Yeah. X
I
I
love
love,
Dead
and
Kennedys at
actually
the Stone Pony.
there's the Cockney Rejects, another.
Yeah.
If the kids are united,
Golden
never-
Voice,
They
man.
will never be
Remember when
invited.
Golden Voice like just promoted punk rock bands and thrash
Yeah.
bands, and now they do
Golden
Coachella.
Voice was a big one. Yeah,
Now they do
Dickies.
Coachella. Kind of, ugh.
Yeah,
I like Coachella at first.
Well, here's something
It's
that'll
too
put a
big.
smile on your face, Gary. There's a metal festival in Europe called Wacken. It's 3 days long, and they make more money than Coachella does in a week.
Good.
Coachella's
There
too
used to
big
be a
now.
punk
Too hip.
fest called Holidays
big
in
and
the
hip.
Sun. It was in England. That was like a couple day thing. And
Yeah,
all-
Monsters
The
of Rock was
plugs.
big.
The plugs. Coming from East LA, of course. The East LA scene. But yeah, all these bands are reformed and still going. I like X particularly because they've become more of a.
There's my
Yeah.
girl
Runaways.
Joan Jett. I got her signature
Runaways.
on a poster that I drew of her.
love Joan
Yeah, there's my
I
girl.
love Sherry Curry. I love Lita Ford. All of them.
I don't
This is
know
a
what
great-
it is. I have the worst luck, man. Every chick
X.
I think is
Yeah.
just badass ends up
They
being a
become-
lesbian, man. I just
X
like,
have become
what the
really
hell?
kind of rockabilly, almost rockabilly band, almost.
With special guest Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I know. I love this
Man.
one.
Billy
love this
Zoom
one.
would never change his position. That's how he stood the whole damn show. With his
Now, here's a good one.
Yep.
There's 3 bands I've
All of
I've seen the Cramps and the Blasters. I've never seen X, but I love the Blasters.
I've seen all of them.
I just think
And
it's
Dave-
hilarious that the Chili Peppers were an opening act at this point
Yeah.
because, like, I grew up in the '90s and they were huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Chili
Dave
Peppers.
Alvin
Dude.
of the Blasters was in X for a while as well.
You know who gave the Chili Peppers their first Dr. Demento?
Yeah,
Really?
Wow,
Also,
really? That
Flea
sounds
was
about
in-
right, man. That sounds about
Flea
right.
was
The
in,
sock
what,
puppet's getting
Fear?
pushed by Dr. Demento. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Dave Alvin wrote 4th of July for X, and he was in them for a while. That 4th of July is one of my favorite songs of all time. And X have turned into a really top-notch band.
Yep.
Americana, really. They're not punk. They're everything. You know, they've got
Yep.
everything. Love them. Oh, someone's popping in. Oh, it's Darius. He's in and out like this. He's up and down like the Assyrian Empire.
I have to check them out, actually.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I'll have to check a lot of these bands out because it's bands I've heard of, but I've never really listened to. So
I think you'd find X now, or I mean, all through their career, but now, and they're just phenomenal. Really classy band, you know.
I mean, my exposure to punk growing up was a lot of New York hardcore because of
Yeah.
where I live. And then it was a lot more, for lack of a better term, it was more the mainstream punk. Not that it really was, but it was like the Ramones, the Misfits, Black Flag, Bad Brains,
Sex Pistols.
Sex Pistols, TSOL,
Yeah.
stuff like that, DRI.
What about for the hardcore? Agnostic Front.
Agnostic
Sheer
Front,
Terror.
Madball, Sheer Terror.
Yeah.
I actually like Sheer Terror a lot.
Paul Bearer. I woke up one day and Paul Bearer was passed out on my living room floor.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know how he got there.
I know.
Neither did he.
I know we're not
No.
talking about it. I was like into a lot of the British punk. So
Me
Me
too.
too. And we had a good punk
We should do
stream
a
a few
special
weeks
about
ago,
that.
Gary. We had a great
should do
punk stream
another.
a few weeks ago. Well, we should do another. Yeah, we only scratched the surface, but a lot of it was British punk because that's the era I grew up in, and I went to a lot of those bands live at the time. Like I saw the Buzzcocks and Joy Division
I
tour,
love the
which is
Buzzcocks. I love
just
Joy Division.
Holy shit.
so difficult to
I
see
would
that.
die.
Yeah, that was like
later, but yeah, no.
and at the time, it was like, oh, well, this is good. And then now I look back and it's like, my God, that band was gone after that. You know, it's,
Well, a lot of those punk bands only lasted for an album or two.
yeah. Well, the Joy Division, because Ian Curtis killed himself, so that was the end of that. You know, but,
23.
Skids to that, won't it?
so we're annoying Papa Cotton now because he says there's no metal in this stream. And he's
I
right
can do
now.
kind of if you wouldn't mind me just bringing up the band Fang for a second.
Well, that's where we were just headed.
They tie into that. Go on.
Funny you should say that. So, oops, let me remove this from the stream. Let me get this out. So just give me a few seconds. Talk amongst yourselves. My executive producer's not doing anything right now.
We were talking before stream, Gary, and you might be able to answer this question. That we were saying, like the Bay Area thrash scene that cropped up was a response to the hippy dippy attitude that San Francisco's had.
Absolutely. That's
What about Flats?
when you
We're
combine
definitely
that,
going to get to that.
I would argue
Yeah.
that's what punk was too. Punk was a lot of things. It was net punk wasn't one thing, obviously, because there's collectivist commie punk out there, and then there's like individual. I was more into the individualism part of it, but there was certainly like Crass, from UK. So, but
Yeah.
I think that scene in the Bay Area was a direct reaction to that and hair metal, kind of both at the same time.
and when you combine that with the music scene at Berkeley in the 70s, especially, then I think it's easy to see where a lot of the thrash scene came from.
Oh hell yeah, but the thrash scene like brought metal and punk together, like like when Metallica and Slayer and Testament and Sepultura, like all of a sudden the punks and the metalheads were just hanging out all the time.
Yeah, I think, and this is where Metallica came from. Motorhead was always the neutral ground, where it was something that the metalheads and the punk both loved.
So this is where we're leading into, because we're going to do Fang, and then we're going to move on to the whole Bay Area stuff and play some. We're going to play some clips as well, which hopefully Mama Susan won't kill me for. But Fang, yeah, Courtney, you're a big supporter of Fang, and they're quite influential, as we know.
Fang had a song. Well, first of all, I should say I was obsessed with Fang. They've been around since the early. Well, Sammy Town joined in 1980, but then went to prison for 11 years. He was on America's Most Wanted. That's just a side note. So they made the paper for that. There he is, the Sammy in the middle. It's a great picture of him. That's what he looks like still now.
Black and white always looks so good for punk and metal bands, I think.
They had a song called "The Money Will Roll Right In." And speaking of Metallica actually covered that song on Master of Puppets and the extended version.
So did
but
Nirvana.
Only the instrumental. Nirvana covered them. Mudhoney covered them. Butthole Surfers covered them. Green Day covered them. A lot of bands covered that one song, but a lot of people don't know about Fang, which is just that's why I like to put it out there, because they're still going strong. He told me they just recorded an album, but they're waiting on the vinyl. It takes a long time to get vinyl printed now, and most people know this, but I had the pleasure in 2005 to they were one of my favorite bands, to play bass with them.
Yeah, and you still got that picture? Send it to me. I might have it somewhere.
Yeah, I can send it to you, where I have probably the little thing for the avatar. Which
you were the blonde bombshell of the bass.
Yeah, my avatar, if you put it in the middle, but I'll find the picture. You probably can't see it in the avatar. So Sammy was talking about a lot of because he's probably around your age, Gary, and he was talking about the transition. Sorry, I'm looking at what he wrote me. He said he was talking about the start of crossover. Bands like Exodus and Testament played with punk rock bands in Oakland and Berkeley. I believe it was the first crossover scene that influenced bands like DRI. So that was just that was a little bit of his input on there. And he's been, they're still going. It's freaking awesome. And I was the only female to ever play.
There's a collectible shop. I'm forgetting his name now. There's a collectible shop, but one of the guys from DRI worked there up until 10 years ago in Berkeley. I think it's shut down, but it was vintage toys and comics. Nice. And I couldn't believe I was talking to the guy. I'm like, "You're from Dirty Rotten Imbeciles." Oh my God. Couch Slouch was one of my favorite songs ever. So, yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, DRI is great.
I saw that at New York hardcore thing, a little NYHC on his shirt there. People were rocking that. We all had our own, we had the North County hardcore. That's what we ripped off. We all ripped.
So I'm going to attempt to play. I'm going to attempt to annoy Mama Susan by playing a bit of Fang. So although I tested it in private.
You should play The Money Will Roll Right In or Layers.
Well, that's what I'm just looking for right now. Here it is. Right, so I need to make sure that we can hear this as well. Can everybody hear that? Mm-hmm. I'm getting a bit of internet problem here, so things are just... We should be good to play this.
the body swap.
Yeah. That must be it. Oh no, I think I'm just suffering from slow network problems here. Everything keeps freezing on me. Yeah, so I'm getting a little bit of network problems, but that's Fang.
They sound a lot better these days. It's funny.
Oh, I've got the modern clips of them playing. They're really rocking it. Yeah, but,
Yeah,
I
I
could keep playing it
that
for
picture
longer
to
to
your
annoy
Twitter.
Papa Cotton.
They're so young. So funny.
So that was the Money Rolls. Yeah, there's a great clips of Metallica playing. There's a great one of Nirvana.
Nirvana
playing it.
actually, I hate to say it, but Nirvana did a really good version of that song.
And they played it live. It was live, and they
Yeah.
just kind of jammed it, and it was brilliant. Yeah,
And
you'll
these
find it on
bands
YouTube.
sound
yeah.
totally
I sent the
different in a
picture to your
club.
DM
They do.
Twitter, Brian.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Or that's not what you said.
Right.
These bands all sound totally
Oh,
different in
right.
a club too.
Give me a
Oh
second.
yeah, I mean the
And
live
it's,
sound
and it's
is-
awesome. You know, I mean,
Like
can't say
live
it
punk
enough.
and metal.
When I
you
was
can't-
bartending is when I heard the best music, man. One club that I worked at in the 90s, they actually had an alley. They called it the Malibu Alley. The name of the place was the Malibu Beach Club. And they actually had a piece of an alley behind the with an attachment for the shows they would have. And the craziest ones was the Insane Clown Posse. When they showed up, man, that place was,
Sorry, I can't.
that's what I'm saying. You know, no venue's ready for certain bands, man. They really aren't.
So here's our gal Courtney playing the bass.
Yeah.
That's Sammy Town in the front left next to the guy that looks like a furry, but that's my friend. That's my friend Slug. And actually, the guy with the Dead Boys on the back of his jacket to the right, that's Dave Glass. He's an awesome artist. He did the artwork for my punk night that I used to run in my booking company, and it actually made it into a coffee table art book called The Art of Modern Rock. And it's in there with flyers from like the Grateful Dead and like all these like huge, like it's pretty cool. But he
Yeah,
was the
so
artist.
Courtney, I have to say this photograph did. I did think of starting an OnlyFans on your behalf to simp for you because of this photo.
I was a
'Cause
lot
this-
hotter back then. That's in my 20s. Okay, that's 2005. Well,
don't be hard on yourself.
I was almost 30, I guess.
But yeah, playing the bass as well. There's nothing hotter than that.
You know, it's
Beautiful.
it's sad because back then, like, I know it was 2005, but like nobody had like camera phones the way they did nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
I have no video of that. Nobody can find video from that show.
Yeah, it's a shame, yeah. But that's Fang, and they, you've turned me on to how influential they were with that song in particular, which I'd heard others playing. I didn't know it came from them, so that's...
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I was
that-
trying to bring light to them because people have no idea, but they've heard that song, you know. So
But the good thing about that is it kind of moves us into the thrash Bay Area scene, which we'd started to talk about. And I wanted to just play another little clip or two, if you guys are okay with that, to lead us into that. Kind of explaining a little bit about some of that scene. So let me just find the correct video. I have a few. Oh yeah, so this is a little thing by Slayer, which comes from a Smithsonian video that's on YouTube, and I found it quite interesting. So hopefully you can all hear it okay.
Huh?
what?
The
Yeah.
Smithsonian.
Those
trust me.
words in that order just didn't make sense.
Trust me.
Oh, I do.
Oh, my brother would freak out. He saw that guitar.
The bands now have been together 33 years, 34 years. We enjoy it, and it's become part of our matrix. We've stuck with the core of what we do. The first time I ever even heard the term thrash, Kerry called me on the phone and said, "Hey, I'm putting this band together. I got the guitar player and drummer. I want you to play the bass and you sing too."
Then one day, I started hearing Judas Priest on the radio on the British Steel album. And I thought I liked it. I'm like, there's 2 guitars. This is awesome. Soon after that, it was Maiden.
And then he mentioned the name Iron Maiden. And I'm thinking, who's that? So I went out and bought the record. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh my God. A Metal Blade guy came to us and said, "Hey, if you do a single, I'll put it on this compilation album." So we listened to the compilation albums that he had released. We thought, well, we can come up with something heavier and faster than that. And that's what started the ball rolling for the band.
It was a little bit about being the anti-LA band because LA was all the hair bands were getting popular. It was difficult for us to get bookings. It took us a while of getting, some heat behind us before we'd even get a gig in Hollywood. We wanted to be the anti-Rat. We wanted to be the anti-Motley Crue. Anything we could do to not be a hair band is the way we went, and we kind of just landed on this sound. Heavier, faster, taboo lyrics.
I really just thought, man, I just want to play drums and I want to kick ass. And that's what I want to do. And it's like, I don't care about, if I have to spend 2 hours doing my makeup before I go on stage, like putting my hair up and stuff, I'm not interested in it.
We had this burgeoning metal scene with all these like non-hair bands, and for guys like them and Metallica, they all came up to the Bay Area and found like more than a welcoming home up there, because it was a whole different scene. I think the Bay Area was great for thrash because we were really like kind of ground zero for like all this European metal making its way over stateside. We had it on the radio. We had Rampage Radio at KUSF in San Francisco.
You're listening to KUSF, San Francisco.
You had the old Waldorf, which had Metal Mondays, and you had the weekend Best of Metal Mondays. You had the Keystone Berkeley, San Francisco, Palo Alto. You had the Mabuhay Gardens. You had the Rock on Broadway, which were one right on top of the other. The list went on, and you could go to a different club every night of the week and never see the same band twice.
So you purposely would put stuff on tape and hand it to someone, just one person. And that was the underground metal scene. It was all tape traders, people knowing people, friends calling friends. At a time before social networking, people would just come to know people. And it was all just friends, but it just spidered out across the nation.
I think the growth in thrash metal, one of the defining characteristics of it was initially speed, but then as it matured, people just got tired of doing the same damn thing all over and over again and realized we need to grow with this. But that quest to stand apart as a band from the other guys created different sounds within the genre and pushed it.
Banging your head was a big part about metal. There's the thrashing up and down, and then there's the thrashing of the body with the head up and down. And then there was the pinwheel. Eventually that evolved, the thrash evolved to a mosh.
Yeah.
And that was something that yeah, the stage diving. And these were all components that were part of punk. They started blending. So you have your punk, then you have your metal, and then you have thrash, which kind of brought those two things together. It's the music. It's the music that makes you do that. And let the power of thrash compel you. They throw beer on you.
I always thought this kind of music had an integrity to it. You can't BS your way through this. You can't.
Our audience is very open to that, allowing their kids to be exposed to everything. And I think that has a lot to do with why the band has continued.
Slayer is a lifestyle. It's not just a band. It's not just the music. So these kids come to the show tonight, they're going to church. That's their church.
I think thrash has endured because the music's honest. It's real. It's from the heart, and they see that.
Yeah, there's nothing commercial about that stuff for sure.
Is it just me or does Gary Holt look a lot like Ryan with longer hair?
Isn't that an excellent little video? I really like that.
Smithsonian. Weird.
I know. Just
Yeah, that's strange to see that. them
Maybe they're
affiliated with
putting
thrash.
Slayer. Maybe they're going to put Slayer in a museum.
The Smithsonian's like the last group of people I would ever imagine doing a documentary on thrash.
Right.
Wait,
it seems like the least thrash metal thing ever. Like, oh yeah, the Smithsonian's covering us.
When I found that, I was just so excited. I thought this is great, and it's the, you know, the only, there's like a one little copyright bit, and I think it's the wasted years.
Probably
none of the Slayer stuff is flagged up at all. But
maybe they'll do a residency in Las Vegas.
I've actually met two of the guys in that video, but with their other bands. I met Gary Holt when he was playing with Exodus.
Yep.
And when I saw them, and then Paul Bostaff when he was drumming for Testament. And the funny thing is, he was getting annoyed because everybody wanted to talk to him about Slayer. He's like, I'm not even on tour with them. I mean, can we talk about what I'm doing here and now? And then I mentioned Forbidden.
Slayer.
And then I mentioned Forbidden, and he's like, I'm going to talk to you for a while.
Yeah. So up in the because every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and all that hair metal scene spawned its reaction, which is Deadly Rival, which was the thrash metal, and that was just in the supposed flower power center of San Francisco. You got a bunch of guys and some girls, I'm sure, were inspired by Priest and Motorhead, new wave of British heavy metal.
Venom especially
Punk,
big.
and they wanted to go louder, faster, grittier, and darker. Way the opposite of that other stuff. And they had their own set of venues up there: the Fillmore, the Stone, the Waldorf, and many more. And they hated hair metal. In fact, I have a clip about that too, if you're willing to indulge me. One more little clip that's just about that. So,
oh no, not skirmishes between thrashers and hairband
and this
guys.
This
No.
one does unfortunately feature the Dick Howard Stern, but
Imagine the hairspray fire.
80s, when all the fucking metal bands were, wearing spandex. Was there any pressure on you from management, from Metallica, to be more commercially successful by wearing like long, I don't know, robes, or you know what I mean? Like, how did you avoid that pressure?
Our managers were looking after Dawkins, remember them?
Yeah.
Dawkins, and we were the antithesis to that. We were the opposite, and they were actually fiercely protective of us. We started in LA, so it's 1981. We're starting to play a few shows up in Hollywood, and everything that was playing up on Sunset Boulevard at the Whiskey and the Troubadour and Gazaris and all those bands that had that image, and it fueled us. It made us want to be the opposite to that, and all those other bands, that was the enemy, the opposition. That was who stood in our way.
When you talk about the fueling, see, this is something I relate to. When I got into my radio career, I was an angry motherfucker. As far as I was concerned, everyone else on the radio was bullshit. This was my attitude. Have you ever gone back and had to apologize to other bands that you worked with on tour because you guys were angry and pissed off? I know that anger. You have to have it if you're going to succeed. It's you've got to. Have you?
Yes.
You have.
There's been a couple of incidents,
but there was a lot of bands that were talking crap about us,
right,
which actually helped us in a way too, and then we'd actually end up touring with some of those bands like, Motley Crue or something in there. I'm sorry about what I said in that Cream magazine interview. It's like, oh, well, thank you. I didn't read it, but thank you.
we had a tour book. I think it was on the Black Album tour. We found every single fucking negative, nasty quote that anybody had ever said about Metallica, and there was a lot of them. And we put them all in that tour book, and
some of them were me.
And it was just kind of the way that we would just get kind of back at these people. In the Nothing Else Matters video, We had a dart board, and there's a clip in that video where I'm throwing darts at a picture of Kip Winger. Remember Kip Winger?
Kip Winger, yeah.
And listen, still to this day, I feel like I apologize to, whenever it's brought up in interviews. It's like I was nothing against Kip Winger personally, but kind of like what you're saying, it 35 years later, it feels awkward to sit and talk about that, but you can't deny that when you're 18 and full of spunk and venom and just wanted to fuck the whole world,
It does drive you. It does drive you, and it's an incredible drive,
Well, I love what you're saying, Howard, because it's true that should I have been that way? Should I have been different? No, it happened because it happened, and it had to happen to get where we are right now, to respect the past and to respect our enemy and all of the things that fueled us and brought us to where we are now. And, as you might know, the first half of your life is causing destruction, and the second half of your life is maybe cleaning a bit of it up.
Apologizing for it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a bit weird to be talking about being full of spunk from venom, but that's
Well, I mean, they were famous for that.
But yeah, it's neat. I like that because they were all slagging each other off. I remember it in music papers at the time. It was like,
I think it's funny to see Metallica and Howard Stern talk about that because neither one of them was relevant once they got rid of that anger.
Yep. I know. Well, I would certainly slag Metallica off for Saint Anger and several other things. Just before we go any further, I'd like to welcome our good friend Brahma Bull to the chat.
Hey,
Well
done, gentlemen.
You look next to my white ass.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
It's been a good talk so far.
Thank you. I don't have a clip specifically for you, but you can have this one.
Fitting enough.
Can't go wrong with Angus.
Fitting enough. I'm having some computer problems here. Obviously, everything's freezing.
Regarding Howard Stern, I just wanted to say one thing really quickly. My first punk show ever that I went to, which was at JC Dobbs, a little club. It's still there on South Street in Philly. The same day they were having the Howard Stern convention. And we were just getting, like, the punks that were just going to see the Sloppy Seconds, this band, were getting heckled by all the Howard Stern fans. But I actually always liked listening to Howard Stern. They're just funny connection.
He had his moments back in the day. But, actually, I remember for the first time I ever visited the US and landed in New York City, and this is, 25 years ago, more. First thing I wanted to do in the morning was put the radio on and listen to Howard Stern.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun. And funnily enough, he had Bryan Adams, Canadian Bryan Adams, on that day. But not that. I was a big Bryan Adams fan, even though I was in the UK. But some interesting comments from both of those, like about the scenes and how they develop. But I'll never be able to do that round thing with the hair. It's just not going to happen.
Some of us are just not blessed like that.
Some of us are not equipped.
Yeah, we are not. But that was a good. Yeah, why is it San Francisco spawned that thrash scene? It just doesn't seem like the place you would expect it in New York and other places, but peace and love, San Francisco.
It's not peace and love. It's not peace and love. I mean,
SF is definitely not. That's what I was going to say.
I lived there for 18 years. I didn't see no peace and love. There is a lot of anger. I mean, you would think that metal, especially thrasher metal, did like spawn from the suburbs and bored kids. That's what we were. We didn't have much to do. We had an arcade to go to and shows to go to. And that was it. Because we were in these sprawling suburbs and strip malls were just starting out, especially California. It was strip mall.
Like Gilman was that?
Gilman is in Berkeley. It's also where all the hippies had kids, right? And they rebelled against their hippie parents or their.
That's what I did. My parents were hippies. I rebelled against
anti-peace and love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My dad took me to too many Grateful Dead shows as a baby, I guess. No.
I was stationed there for 3 months at the Presidio in spring of '86, a young military policeman, and I enjoyed that city, man. I mean, I'd heard there was, homosexuality running rampant in the streets there and everything. And at that time, they
No poop
stayed in
yet.
their own part of town down in Castro.
poop.
So I mean, we
Yeah.
used to go to Fisherman's Wharf all the time. It was fun. It was a fun place.
They have a great Halloween.
Sorry, go ahead, Courtney.
They party great for Halloween.
Mm.
But
Don't forget, of course, that Clint Eastwood set all these Dirty Harry movies in San Francisco.
I was fixing to say, yeah, I met him at when he was he has a bar in Carmel. It's about an hour north of there, huh, Gary?
He was the mayor.
D-Bud
wants me to put my hair wig on. It might happen by the end. We'll see.
That is one big dude, by the way. You know, he
Throw
looks
money.
skinny on screen, but that dude is huge.
Who, D-Bud? He's a big unit. Yeah. What was I going to say there? Oh yeah,
No, I was
so we
talking
had
about Clint.
Clint. I thought you meant D-Bud.
Clint. He's a big
So
dude.
did you notice in the opening montage that the clip of Metallica had has Dave Mustaine in the in the band? Yeah, that was very early days, but
very early days.
Yeah, the you know the fun fact, Metallica actually opened for Saxon at the Whiskey in the Sunset Strip in 1982.
Yep,
Saxon. That would have been a
Their
gig.
first or second show.
Yeah. But there's a band that's from LA, really, but they moved up to the Bay Area and lived there because that's where it was about to happen. It was going to happen. So they're
Right, because
same
that was
for Slayer.
for Cliff's terms.
Yeah.
He said,
But
"I'll join the
Slayer's-
band, but only if you move to San Francisco."
That's right. Yeah, and Slayer too are from LA, Huntington Park. They moved up there. Megadeth, also LA, but really huge fixture on the Bay Area
that
scene.
kill them
And-
all.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and Anthrax, New York City, but played a lot in the Bay Area because that's where that scene was starting to happen. And there's the Stone, which is one of the big venues there. I'd love to have gone to that in the day. I don't know if it's still going or not. But there's Megadeth in their hair metal days.
One of the most underrated bands ever, if you ask me.
Yeah,
Megadeth is
Love
fantastic.
Megadeth too.
Yeah, and this is the big four. Everyone loves their big fours, big sixes, big eights, big 12s, and that's a great flyer. I mean, I love this one. It's with Motorhead topping the bill.
That
and
must have been a
must
hell of a show.
Oh yeah, what a gig!
I don't imagine anyone heard anything for days after, but
Yeah. But this is what was starting to go in there. So the big four, but there were bands in San Francisco that we're going to cover in a minute or two that were seminal. There's a good word.
What was the date on that one? I remember.
geez,
I
can I go
remember
back?
Clash of the Titans. I remember that.
Hang on.
That's what I remember. That's good.
That was
May
a
29th.
a series of tours, actually, Gary. It wasn't just one.
Yeah.
So May 29th, there's no year on these. You know that if you look at your old concert tickets and flyers, there's never a year on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clash of the Titans, Monsters of Rock. They were.
Well, that's got to
Alice
be
in
18.
Chains. So that's probably.
It's
That,
post 83.
I was in high school when that tour happened because I went to it.
I'd say it's about 87.
No.
No, 92. I would
Oh, much
say.
later.
90, 91, or 92. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Have to be
early
in the
90s.
for Alice in Chains to start hitting.
Alice in Chains. Yeah.
But I mean, the grunge bands were around in the late 80s. They were there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They
yeah.
started.
They were popping up.
That's when they were still good. The Sub Pop, like all the Sub Pop stuff. I actually liked the early stuff until everything kind of went.
Yeah.
So, that's my
Turned to-
impression.
yeah. But it's interesting was because the grunge stuff really wasn't it wasn't really in opposition to thrash. It took from thrash.
Yeah.
I don't see those as being in opposition. Certainly they'd be in opposition to the remains of hair metal.
Yeah, they were the opposition to like the
Yeah.
flashiness, basically.
I'm not sure that the thrash scene would be a threat or to grunge or vice versa.
Grunge is when rock got sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, shoegaze.
Bummer.
Oh my god.
Bummer, dude.
I took
Bummer.
too much
I
heroin.
like some shoegaze.
Yeah, it's hard rock with a heroin addiction.
Yep.
I like shoegaze.
Some of it was good, but I mean, like, they didn't last very long, did they?
I've got actually a clip I hope to play later by British comedian Bill Bailey where he puts a thrash song together on stage, and the lyric, grunge, and the lyrics are miserable. I just woke up and my dogs died, and you know, just.
I will say some of those sub pop like grunge bands. I'm reading the chat because they're talking about this.
Oh, CLC.
Like Mudhoney, early Mudhoney was so
Yeah,
good.
I saw them.
They were freaking. I did too. Like, and they were not grunge to begin with. They were like angry.
I spent 30 years calling them Mudhoney, so I think it was. I thought they were Irish.
That is one. That is a awesome lineup, right?
That is an yes.
Yeah,
that
Corrosion.
Yeah.
Corrosion of conformity.
Oh, yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
DRI
some of the shit
possessed
that was
Corrosion
good.
and Anthrax on the headline. Yeah, buddy.
You know, I never saw Anthrax.
I didn't
Oh,
either,
wow.
unfortunately.
I've never seen them now. I've seen Exodus. I've seen Testament. I've seen Slayer. I haven't seen Metallica live.
I saw them once.
And then,
Seen them a
I've
couple
never seen
times.
Anthrax.
Anybody remember Stormtroopers of Death?
Yes, I do.
I remember them. Yeah.
And it was two guys from Anthrax, a guy from Nuclear Assault, and a guy from MOD.
Can't make that album today.
No.
Oh no.
Neither of them. You know, they put another one out in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And they had songs like Free Dirty Needles.
Remember Dr. No?
Name sounds familiar.
A kid from the courtship of Eddie's father became a punk rock singer, and it was from Oxnard. So it was Dr. No, like KNOW. Had a great cover. I think it was Mystic Records, and they sang the classic song "Fist Fuck."
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
Ooh, that's Paul Bailoff from Exodus on that photo.
Yeah,
if you go back to that photo before,
you're
Nick.
hello guys.
Hey,
So-
you bailed on us in Vegas, dude.
Nick,
I'm sorry.
You better be sorry.
I am.
I'm just kidding.
Welcome to
No,
the
I
stream,
still
buddy.
am.
I'm glad you
Despite
could
all
make it.
things. It's a wild story to why I couldn't go. I told comics what happened.
I
and
heard what
it
happened.
was-
I heard what happened.
Yeah. But also, no, I will be in Orlando, and it will be huge.
Oh, yeah, man.
Huge.
I'm
so
going to try
can we
to
go back to that
make
photo? Because I think I saw
No,
Paul Bailoff. That was the
I
original
can't-
singer of Exodus.
Can't do that until I've played you in. See, that used to be Imperatus, is it's yours now. You've adopted that.
Got milk?
Okay, so obviously that's Exodus. In the middle, that's Steve Souza on the front. He was the second frontman of the band after he replaced the late Paul Bailoff. Rest in peace. And then Souza got kicked out, got replaced by Rob Dukes. Then the band quit. And then the band reformed with Souza on the front. And then it's been uphill since then. And
Yeah,
this
their
is
new
their
stuff's
10th
been
or
really-
11th album.
Their new stuff's been
And
really good.
they have one of the greatest music videos of all time with the song "The Toxic Waltz."
Mhm.
If you haven't watched that video, that's like the essential thrash metal video, in my opinion. Because Exodus, this is going to go into metal conspiracy, but a lot of people think Exodus would have been as huge as the Big Four if their album had came out on time with the other guys. But what happened was they had bad label issues, like everyone else did in the '80s, and Exodus, their album got pushed back a whole other year. So they couldn't time out their album with Slayer's Show No Mercy or Metallica's Kill 'Em All or Megadeth's Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. Even bands like Forbidden and Testament had a leg up on them. It's real sad. It makes you wonder how big Exodus would have been. Maybe if Paul Bailoff would have been in the band longer, considering also Kirk Hammett was an original member
that's right.
of the band. Oh,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
Testament before their
Yeah, this
Testament
is
when they're
Proto
called
Testament.
Legacy.
Yeah,
Legacy,
Proto
yeah.
Testament.
That's why I wanted to put this one in, yeah.
And
So,
that had Chuck Billy and Eric Peterson, Alex Skolnick, and of course Alex Skolnick had a brief stint when he did the Trans-Siberian Orchestra in the mid 2000s, I think. So am I correct me on
like
that?
yeah.
Did they come out of Sabotage?
I've actually got mixes.
Sabotage.
I'm gonna try
That's
and
Florida. That's Florida scene, which I love the Florida
Florida,
scene. Yeah. Even though they're one of the fewer, more rockier type of bands, because Florida's more notorious for the death metal wave. But yes, obviously Sabotage is still very essential because they are.
Yeah, we're focused on the more
influential in the
California scene
underground.
here. Yeah, it's more of a California. I've actually
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a clip of Exodus I want to play on video. I don't know if you want me to keep
Please
it or
tell me
try
it's a
and play it now.
Toxic Waltz.
No, it's not. So, you sucker. But I'll play it now. Are you guys okay with me playing some video clips? Or
Oh,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah, for
That's
sure. Yeah,
evil.
I don't want to turn the show into just that, you know. But as we're on the subject of Exodus, I figured it was a good time to throw this one in here.
Oh, Piranha from Bonded by Blood.
Yeah. Hopefully we can hear it. It's a bit quiet, this one.
All right, the song. Next song, it ain't about no goldfish.
Goldfish.
It ain't about no tuna fish. And it ain't about no trout. This song is called Piranha.
Has it got enough echo?
I think it needs more cowbell.
Oh, cowbell. I'll just keep it playing in the background in case we get taken down, but we can talk over it. But I wanted to say, oh yeah, I think references online to Gary Holt playing a single coil Strat.
Yep.
And basically they call it a Thrashocaster.
Yep. I remember that. When they called Bailoff so notorious too, he was one of the most politically incorrect frontmen. He talked about literally killing posers on stage. Like, Paul Bailoff was the real deal. He took metal so seriously. He was the biggest gatekeeper of it. He's like, no posers in here, otherwise you die. Apparently he's kicked a few people in the face. He means business, Paul Bailoff. He was an absolute legend.
I almost feel like Holt invented thrash guitar, though. Really, I mean,
arguably so.
Absolutely, and the Thrashocaster is so. I mean, this is phenomenal, given the time that it was made. It's just talk about seminal.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, Exodus, they deserve to be up there in the Thrash Metal Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oops.
I mean,
felt we had to play this. I'd say that was pretty awesome.
And every one of those bands from that era.
Nice.
Rick,
Paul Bailoff right here. I got this when I saw I went to the Bay Strikes Back tour in May. That was 3 months ago. and it was Testament, Exodus, and Death Angel. So it was literally all Bay Area bands only. So I'm like, and I had to have this. So yeah, real proud of this one. So
Is
R.I.P.
it
to
fully
Punk Man.
articulated though? Is it fully
Oh
articulated?
no, this is supposed to be like a take on the '80s figurine. So
yeah, cool, good stuff, man.
And
Yeah,
every one
so-
of those bands had at least 2 songs that would literally ignite a crowd.
Oh yeah.
Testament had Over the Wall and Disciples of the Watch. You had Exodus with Toxic Walls. Slayer, you want to see a crowd literally turn into a sea of movement. Angel of Death or War Ensemble. It's just like
Angel of Death. Like the pit that was going on when I saw them live for Angel of Death was probably 80% of the crowd.
No, are we saying Death Angel or Angel?
Death
of Death?
Angel. This is the third wave. They were very
Yeah.
notable for being the Filipinos of the bunch, and they got into a really bad car accident that cost them their career. And
all
for like
bands
what,
from the
15
Bay Area
years
as well. They were all
And
native-
Laz Rocket. Oh, Laz Rocket was so good.
Yeah.
That's another great underrated thrash. But this is the best album right here.
Nice.
I love this cover.
I love
This
the
is
I love
what
the
like.
I love the art on all of these albums. They're
Well, it's because they were actually drawing the covers. Oh,
Yeah.
Forbidden. When
Yeah,
that
another
was
one.
funny because their title Forbidden
badass
Evil.
looking
That was the
right
original
there.
name. Was Forbidden Evil.
That is a badass cover.
Yeah, it
And
is.
Rob Flynn used to be in this band. A lot of people may know Rob Flynn because he's notoriously controversial for being from another band called Machine Head. Then he,
Oh,
he
yeah.
quit Forbidden, did Violence, and then after Violence went to Machine Head, and now Rob Flynn has just been trend hopping ever since.
Yeah.
But just what you say to
Which is
Papa
too bad
Cotton.
because he's a good guitarist.
Just what you say to Papa
Oh,
Cotton.
no,
We
he's
gotta make you
phenomenal
wait.
player.
We make you wait for the good stuff, Papa. That's the
He's
secret of a good
controversial.
show.
Still complaining about that.
Make
Good
the
things
public
come
wait.
for those who wait.
Don't give them everything at once. Make them wait.
It's like good pro wrestling booking.
And there's one more, of course. One more of these kind of native bands, if you want to call it that, to San Francisco Violence.
Yep, Violence.
They're,
Oh man, I actually
Death
saw them a
Penalty.
few months ago.
Used to be called Death Penalty. I think it's a much better name. I guess
Yeah.
that's banned in California though, so
Probably.
they couldn't call themselves Death Penalty.
Everything else is banned in California. Why not that?
Couldn't call themselves. So Gary, are you familiar with a lot of these bands? Have you seen any of them back in the day when you lived there?
I like
No.
the Susan's t-shirt.
These were what year? I lived there.
86 through 89.
So 86 to 89, I was in SoCal.
SoCal. Okay, so you were around for when the DRIs and the suicidals, verbal abuses were coming. Which that's another great scene to be around anyway. That's a whole other. That's a whole other rabbit hole I can go down. Yeah.
I was preoccupied for a portion of the early 90s. Wasn't getting to a lot of shows. You know, I had this thing. Not the Blink 182 era.
Someone mentioned.
Oh God,
that's
Why
Rob
would you
Flynn
say
on the
that?
right.
Janine Lindelmulder.
I think this is
When I think of
Heathen.
when I think
No,
of
this
like
is Violence because
SoCal,
that's
Oh, it's
Rob
still
Flynn
Violence.
on the right. That's
Oh,
Rob,
yeah,
Rob
yeah.
Flynn before he quit, and then to the left is Phil Demmel, who has been the one consistent member of the band from beginning to end. Then you have Dark
Maybe-
Angel here.
Well, Dark
who
Angel,
were
I always used to
basically
get
Slayer
them.
on steroids.
I got them confused with the other Dark band.
We just
Death Angel.
Death Angel. I always get them confused
Yeah.
with Death Angel, you know, but
I
No,
was gonna
Dark
say most of
Angel
the bands I know with
Testament.
Dark in the title
Angel,
sound
I
nothing
know.
like Dark Angel.
Yeah,
Dark
right.
Angel, I know. Death Angel, I know. Testament,
Yeah,
I know.
they're-
Yeah.
Death
the
Angel
ones
were
over in the UK at the
man.
time, the ones that I would heard of were Testament and Exodus were the two that we'd really heard of.
Heathen. Here we go.
Heathen,
Now
no, I
to the
love
right.
Heathen. I
Yeah.
love Heathen. Great band.
Great band.
And
To
I'm
the
going to play a
right
clip
band,
of
that's for
theirs.
sure.
So these were all the big bands coming out of that area at the time.
And all of
Heathen
these
was
guys
underrated
had a huge
out of the
influence.
bunch.
Now this track, which was a song by The Sweet, it's one of my favorite Sweet songs. I love the Heathen version of this, and I'm going to play it if you guys are okay with that.
I think Gary has to go before
You
you.
gotta go.
Bail out. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. The other
Oh,
Gary's here now, so
Hey,
Yeah, we got a replacement, Gary. There we go.
Got a
I
replacement.
have-
Gary. I'm
I
very
have to
happy.
go too.
So, my friend, I really appreciate joining. I hope you had fun.
Had a blast. It was great talking about music finally.
Exactly, yeah, and you're always welcome to come back on and talk about it anytime. I tend to do every second show's music, and then the other ones are movies. But this has been a blast having you, sir. What are you up to next? I know you got a packed schedule, but what are you up to next?
Oh my God! Well, me and the family are going to see Fellowship of the Ring in theaters in about an hour and a half.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Very cool.
And then House of the Dragon review, and then Rings of Power review.
Oh,
see, you getting the good, and the ugly.
It's gonna be a hell of a week. Yeah. That's the reason I want to do House. I just want to do a good one because I know the other one's just gonna be terrible. Well, I'm going to see it in theaters on Wednesday in Waco. I'm gonna drive up to Waco with
Waco.
Meet Garrett. I think we're gonna maybe do a little thing over there. I think
Go
there's
to the silos and see all the interior decoration. It's very nice.
All right, yeah. Drive by a old. I don't know. Is the Waco cult near Waco?
The Branch Davidians.
It's a few miles out.
Branch Davidians? Yeah.
A few miles out, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go visit
Around
them.
there somewhere.
Go visit where.
You can always hit a half an hour west and go to Killeen, Fort Hood, Texas. Biggest armored post in the free world. I was there.
Yeah, I've been in there.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I hit a Buc-ee's on the way up, I'm good.
Anyway, thank you very much for coming, my friend. You're always welcome to join again if we're doing music and you're free. And it's been a blast.
Cheers and thanks, chat. You guys are great. And
take care, mate.
Cheers. It was great meeting you.
Pleasure.
Have a good one.
Yeah, Gary.
Later, Gary.
See you later.
Oh, hi.
Well,
Well, I actually have to go too. So you
What?
might I wrote in the
Jesus
chat.
Christ, I just got here.
Gary gets
I
here.
have a 4:30 virtual appointment, and then I have to hook myself up to this machine tonight. It's
All
gonna
right,
be fun.
Courtney, but I'm going to
Before you
start
go-
taking this stuff personal.
Once you
We'll
go,
be here on time.
once you go, we can play this clip.
Are there any women here today?
Not anymore.
Well, thank you for joining, lass. I know you've got a packed schedule for various reasons, but it's so good to see you and see you
It's
looking
good to
good.
see everyone too, and I will be starting my channel back up sooner than later. I'm just getting I have a lot going on right now, so I had to put it on the side burner for now. So, but I'll be around. If you have any more
look
streams,
forward
you
to
just
it,
let me
lass.
know. So, all right.
Talk anytime. Ping me anytime, and we can do more stuff.
All right.
Cheers. Take care, Les.
Later, Courtney.
Take care,
Have a good
Courtney.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good one.
So we did have a new addition to the stream. What the hell's this guy's name? Gary.
Uh-oh.
He's frozen.
Oh,
he's
Frozen Man.
Gary.
That's
His
what
power
it
go
is.
out again?
His power's going out again. It's a shame.
Frozen Man.
I think the storm had knocked out his.
It's a
power.
shame
Oh,
because
there he goes.
I had a clip to. Is he back?
No,
Oh, he's
no,
gone.
no. He pulled
He's
a
losing
me.
his power. 'Cause I was going to play his clip.
Looks like Chuck's taken old One Eye to the optometrist. Jeez.
He is the older. He is the older of the two guys on there, I have to say. But so but yeah, thanks Gary for joining and then leaving again so quickly. So would you guys indulge me if I played a little bit of this song?
By all means, you should play a little bit. What's essential is because Lee Altus, who's currently in Exodus, he's also in this band simultaneously.
All right. Well, for that, which if they're playing in two different cities and two different nights is fucking difficult.
Yep. Heathen doesn't play much. They do a tour once every 5 years. Like the last time they did a big one was when they opened for Destruction, when Destruction hopped over the pond from Germany to America. And I caught that tour, and that was, of course, at a rare moment where Exodus wasn't touring, so Lee Altus was able to get Heathen going. He was actually in Heathen first. And then, then Heathen became pretty much a part-time project.
Yeah, and the reason I want to play this, because Heathen do great, I mean, they have good material of their own, but they do great covers, like you do a great cover of Kill the King, which I absolutely love. But they also do this one, which by The Sweet, which is one of my favourite songs. So I'm just going to play it for a little bit. If that's okay. Set Me Free. It's one of the Sweet's more thrashy metal songs rather than their glam stuff. And eventually it will start. It's a band that should have been a lot bigger, even.
Oh yeah.
And it's very new wave of British heavy metal.
It's very speed metal.
Yeah.
Great vocals.
Kind of sounds like Racer X in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I was fixing to say the vocals don't sound like a speed metal band at all. They sound more like a hair band.
It's actually quite faithful to the original if you hear the sweet original.
Well, you can make that argument about Forbidden too, because Forbidden had more of a really traditional trad wave heavy metal singer
Yeah,
as well,
that's true,
Russ
yeah.
Anderson. Forbidden was the same way.
Sentient Dildo, don't tempt me or I will put a dress on and you will regret it. You will all regret it.
You all
but
will.
The drums and the guitars are definitely speed.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
No, we won't
Nah,
get any girls. Joe.
Thrash metal
We
is
will
always
be-
a dudes festival. Let's be
That's
real
right,
here.
sausage
We're
fest,
kind of embracing tradition right now.
I think this video might have been made a few years after the original track was released. There was a bit of a TV hit on Headbangers Ball and stuff like that.
Headbangers Ball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It feels
man.
like
remember
proto
it from
power
that.
metal.
Back when MTV had music on it.
Yeah, that's where I remember seeing it for the first time. I'm thinking
It's
this
almost like a
band's-
thrashy or Iron Maiden.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's very
see that.
good point, mate. Yeah, good point.
Especially with the solos.
Yeah, I love it though. I love the original song. Which
Well,
That
that
lead-
he's playing right there is Iron Maiden.
Yeah, that lead is so Maiden.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, this bit here, right there. But it's funny because the Sweet's original version is quite like this, and that was pre-Iron Maiden. Almost like Maiden like that.
Well, that's like a band you and me talked about a little bit before, but the band Budgie.
Yes, oh Budgie, oh great band.
Some of their stuff, Metallica covered at least one if not two of their. Yeah, they covered two. They covered Breadfed and Crash Course and Brain Surgery.
Oh, God,
and if you
I
hear
love
the
those two.
originals, they're very metal for their time.
I love those two tracks. Yeah, they are. They're very metal. It's a shame they were Welsh, but nobody's perfect.
And look how long it took my, native peoples to get their shit together and put out some good metal.
Yes.
It wasn't until the early 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, when people thought metal before, the death and black scenes of Scandinavia, we got Europe.
Which we've still never forgiven your people for.
Hey, I'm not a Swede. I'm not a Swede. Not my fault.
You're a turnip, not a Swede.
I'm a Norseman. I'm more proud of that fact.
I wonder how many times they did that to get it right.
And how many guitars they ruined in the process.
You see all the big holes in his body from there.
Has a nice shiner from when one clocked him on the side of the head.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That's how those fake Marshall stacks with nothing in them.
Yep.
So I do like that. That kicks ass.
Yeah, that is very good.
That was Heathen. Great band.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
Another one out of that area too. Nick might have heard of them. And I mentioned to you before we got into
Blind Illusion. This is the band Les Claypool was in before he went on to Primus.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
But the band
Dark
Mordred.
Angel. Oh man,
And
dude,
they're
when I first
progressive. I
heard-
see Blind Illusion are quite a progressive thrash band. I would say.
yeah,
Or metal
kind of
band,
like the
yeah.
way Coroner was. Coroner is
Even
from
a-
Switzerland, and
even
they
a-
had that prog thrash sound going on.
Even
So
a
did
touch of Jethro
Voivod.
Tull. A touch of Jethro Tull in them occasionally.
Voivod is
Voivod.
underrated in a lot of ways.
See, Voivod, Coroner, Blind Illusion, and I'm missing one here. That was another way of them. Oh, Toxic. Toxik.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
They were
But,
another
I
one
mean,
of
were
those
they
bands.
Californian? Because I've only got the
Toxic was
Californian.
not
ones.
California. Coroner was not. Voivod
Yeah.
was Canada.
This is why I'm just sticking to the Californian based
no,
ones.
I just doing compare and contrast.
I linked
Sure,
one
no,
for
no,
you in the private 70s. That's a California band. That's thrashy.
Hang on.
And also, you could
Oh,
argue
Mordred.
early machine. You could argue early.
Oh,
Machine Head, too.
Mordred, yeah.
Have you
that's
heard
a
Old
area
Mordred,
band.
Nick?
Yeah,
like the
dude.
first album.
Oh yeah,
Before
very
they got
raw
all
stuff.
experimental.
Very raw.
You can also make an argument for early Machine Head coming out of Oakland.
Oh, Machine Head for sure. Yeah.
I see.
So
I
I
don't.
think-
When I hear "Burn My Eyes," which I love, that first Machine Head album, I hear a Pantera type of band.
Yeah,
and
a
not,
little bit.
Like, not a thrash mode. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic album.
They are from this area. They're from Oakland.
Oh
so-
yeah, they are Bay Area though. They are Bay Area though. That's for sure. Obviously, that was a huge deal because I
And
know
their
that,
first
I
album
think
was what, 94?
95 was Burn My Eyes, because then they put out The More Things Change in 97, and then Rob Flynn got obsessed with new metal, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and that's when everyone stopped paying attention.
Yeah.
They did do a hell of a cover of Hallowed Be Thy Name, though.
Oh yeah, no, that's when they put out their comeback with the blackening, and I was like, okay, cool, no, I'll forgive Rob. I did. I totally forgave him. And then he changed again. I'm like, it became the whole fool me once,
Yeah.
you know the rest.
Shame on
And now so I was like,
shame
all right,
on you.
Rob, I'm sorry, man, but now you fooled me twice. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, so there was a lot of these guys were all coming out of that San Francisco area, and I think I mean, to me, they defined what came after with thrash, death
The
metal,
Bay Area
black
created
metal.
thrash.
Yeah,
Not just that, but that
absolutely.
influenced everything coming forward with all the other subgenres coming out.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
death
especially in
and
the
second
early-
wave black metal are huge
Yeah.
influences.
Because if you hear, like, especially some of the early death metal stuff, it was more leaning towards the thrashier side. Because if you listen, for example, the first Cannibal Corpse album, it sounds like a
very
thrash album
thrashy.
with very thrashy, just with death metal lyrics, and then the scene progressed and the styles changed.
And then on the other side of that coin, roughly about the same time, you had Demolition Hammer, who was, more on the thrash musically, but with death metal lyrics.
Yeah.
So just before, I've got a few images of some other bands to show, but just before we move on to that, we did have a winner in the World Cup of Hair Metal, Californian hair metal. The rules were no Van Halen, no Guns N' Roses, too obvious. And they had to be
Very
either from
obvious.
California or, like Poison, had moved to California. So we do have a winner. It's it's Motley Crue.
Of course it is.
Not surprising. I wanted Steel Panther, but nobody was voting for them. So
Steel Panther's great.
I
And
love
they
Steel
never won
Panther.
Big Max. They never won Big Max 103 on us.
They're the
Like
only
Motley
band
Crue.
still flying the flag on the strip, I believe, of that. But yeah, so Motley Crue were the winners of the World Cup of Hair Metal. And to be honest, they did have some really bad get-ups at the early days, but they were more metal than hair, I think.
And I really wish they had never done this reunion tour, because you just lose all respect for them at this point.
Yeah, and I didn't have a
Even their
lot of respect to
farewell
start with.
tour.
Yeah,
Even their
they did two farewell
was an
tours.
embarrassment.
Yeah.
Both of them were. Vince Neil,
Looks like
he'll
ate
barely
Vince
now
Neil.
get on stage, and he'll not even sing half the songs. And then on top of it, he'll show up late, so he's losing time from the set, and then losing even more time when he's not even singing. It sucks because when he was in his prime, he was killer. Vince Neil at one point was absolutely at the top of his game. Oh, Possessed. Arguably the first death metal band. I don't agree with that assessment, but that's a whole other
So-
argument for another day.
They are cited as that, and I think it's possibly because of the grunting vocals and the fast drumming, furiously fast drumming.
Yeah, but the band that became Death originally was Mantis, if I remember correctly. And
Yes,
they were
right.
around at the same time. I think it's arguable about who put out their album first. But even then, it's only by a couple of months, maybe 4 or 5 tops.
Possessed at best came up with the term death metal because
Yeah.
on their album Seven Churches they had a song called death metal. It was the same argument that was applying to Venom because people are like, "Oh, Venom's a black metal band." I'm like, "No, they're not. They're a thrash metal band."
Thrash
yeah,
band,
but they
yeah.
had the title black metal because they're one of their most known songs called black metal. And don't get me wrong, I love the album and the song and all that, but dude, to me, to have a genre should be a sound, not a song.
Well,
title,
they
'cause
certainly invented it.
What if Anthrax said we're gonna write a song called death metal? Would you call Anthrax death metal at that point? No. And then of course Autopsy right here because this is Chris Reefer to the left. He was the drummer on the first Death album, Scream Bloody Gore, and then after
Mhm.
that he quit Death went on to form Autopsy, who are still together to this day. I've
Yep.
seen 3 or 4 times live. Autopsy are fantastic, but they're not like as straight death metal as the other bands. They have more of like a doomier type
Well,
of
they've
sound.
got a doomy. They've got the down tuning doomy sound.
Yes,
going
love the
on.
doomy
Yeah,
sound.
yeah.
And Chris Reeford's also the drummer who does the vocals too.
I love their logo though.
Oh, I know, right?
Like all the best death and doom metal logos, you can't read them. You
Yes.
can't read
Oh,
them.
I know.
I can't read
That's nothing compared to some of them nowadays, especially in the black
if you
metal
see
scene.
see them all on the wallpaper when they have them all collected, they all look the same, and you can't read them. It's just a scrawling whatever. And then Vaughn, who are hard to find
Oh,
images
wow.
of. It's very hard to find decent
Forgot all
images.
about these guys.
But they were from Hawaii.
Leave it to me,
Just
right, Nick?
Moved to San Francisco.
Some people, this is all you, dude.
Some
These
people
guys
call
are-
them the first black metal band, American black metal band.
First American black metal I could see, yeah.
Yeah, not first black metal, but American.
I mean, the only one that
one
might
of the
tie
best
up.
bands I ever heard was a metal band at a place called the Jazz Cellar. What was it? It was winter of '86. They played "Living After Midnight." I was in the Jazz Cellar on New Year's Eve of '85, going into '86, and they played "Living After Midnight" by Judas Priest. It was all of them had long black hair, and it was a bunch of Hawaiian guys, and they tore it up. It was awesome.
Sounds
So
awesome.
Yep.
I prefer. Well, this is actually I like this image, and it's hard. As I say, it's hard to get really good images of this band.
Yeah, not much is really known on them. These guys were like
No.
underground of the underground.
Well, you
But
know,
I
they
look at
are on an
that-
island in the middle of nowhere. You know.
Yeah, so that's why they moved to San Francisco. But I like this. This is a good look. But this isn't such a good look. They didn't look as good here.
Oh my god. Yeah.
That's
No, it's not the same band.
I was fixing to say, no.
This is another band called Vaughn something or other. Vaughn, I can't even remember what they're called. Vaughn something, but they're,
Fit to say, if they're Hawaiian, they all had plastic surgery and their hair colored.
either they had a complete change of image or it's a different one.
And plastic surgery.
That's what I said. Plastic surgery for sure.
Then we've got Saint Vitus, of course. These guys knew how to dance. From LA in '79, another doom pioneer, I guess.
Oh, definitely one of the pioneers.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
Like it was kind of a tie
Absolutely.
between like the California scene and doom metal and all the European stuff like Candlemass.
And then there's
then,
Trouble, Chicago too. Trouble was one of the first ones as
Yeah.
well. R.I.P.
Yeah, I left his Scorpions t-shirt, so that's cool with me.
Oh, of course, as it should be. Scorpions are still kicking ass and going strong too.
Their new album's a fucking killer too.
Love them.
Yeah, and they got Mickey D from Motorhead as their drummer currently.
Cool.
Yep.
It's
Scott Weinrich.
yeah.
Oh, Goat Snake! Wow,
It's not a band I know
remember
much
Goat
about.
Snake.
I don't know a lot of these guys.
I
didn't
can't say I've
know
ever
them.
heard of them.
These guys are really underground. I've heard like 1 or 2 songs from them. That's
Yeah.
about it.
These are still And then you've got that's them there, but you've also
Oh,
think
that's Steve
we're,
DeGorgio right there in the middle to the right.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal bass player. Like that guy, his tone is very distinctive. It's purely magical. Purely magical.
yeah. This is
Oh, is this Sadist?
Well, no, this is I can never pronounce it. Caius, Kyuss.
Caius. K-Y-U-S-S. Caius.
And Caius are really part of this Palm Desert scene which is going on because it's founded by Josh Homme. I don't know how long he was in them for, or whether he even still. But they came out of the Palm Desert. I do like this artwork of them. It's
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
beautiful piece of artwork. Yeah, Sky Valley. It's this is the desert scene that Josh Holmes got going on out there. So Queens of the Stone Age, part of that too.
I approve of all the flying
Eagles of
V's we're
Death
seeing
Metal.
in this band.
Eagles
yeah.
of Death Metal. Yeah, they've got a really neat scene going on out there in Palm Springs and Palm Desert area. And then there's one more band I really wanted to kind of flag up that are Sleep.
Sleep
is
oh
great.
man,
Yeah,
Doom
for
Metal
fans of Sleep.
Masters. Matt Pike obviously did vocals and guitar in that band, and he had a one album where it was one song long. It was like an hour long.
Yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
went on to also form another great band called High on Fire, which I
Oh,
love.
well,
High on Fire. I saw High on Fire open for Megadeth in 2008.
I've actually got, I think that might be High on Fire
That's Matt.
there.
That's Matt Pike right there.
I
That's
think
him.
that is High on Fire, though, with Matt
Yes,
Pike.
it is. It is.
Now, they've been described as doom, stoner, sludge, thrash metal.
I agree with that entire
Yeah.
assessment. Dude,
Accurate.
High on Fire's kick ass.
Yeah,
So
they're
there's
pretty
there's
good.
the title.
How many more
Well, it's a
adjectives can
band
you
I want
fit
to
into a
find out more
description?
about, yeah.
Yep, this is them.
do want to
Destencil and Jeff Matz and Matt
I don't
Pike
know the
did
names,
center.
yeah, but I do want
Well,
to
they were
find
a
out
three
more.
piece. They were a three piece. So that was what's cool. Is when I first saw High on Fire live, I was so cool to see a three piece on stage, just absolutely super heavy and super fast, and also super doomy too. Because my gateway was Blessed Black Thieves, and then Death Is This Communion.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend. Oh, Devolution as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's kind of some of the bands that I've least have heard of. I haven't necessarily don't know that much about them. I do like High on Fire though.
They're good. They're really good.
But yeah, Goatsnake I don't know much about, but it certainly saw a lot of people mentioning them. So there's still there's still
I've
a
heard
good
like
scene.
2 songs from them. I like what I heard, but I haven't really dug into them.
So
Yeah, they're
Brahma,
pretty cool.
I know you've been a little quiet since you came in because we were kind of halfway through, but in terms of the Californian stuff, you mentioned a couple of things that you were interested in. I guess
My favorite California band is always going to be Faith No More.
That's a good one.
Not in
It
the metal,
is.
the thrash metal, obviously, but I mean, if we're switching gears a little bit, yeah, Faith
Oh,
No
yeah.
More.
Go
Switch
for it.
the gears.
It's good
Love 'em.
stuff.
And
Yeah, how would you describe them then? I mean, I obviously know the hits, but and they're kind of metal, but kind of alternative and kind of grungy and
Like they
Heavy
kind of
rock.
they
They're a
kind of
little bit
fit
everywhere.
Yeah, they kind of fit in this gray area between all 3 of those genres.
yeah, with a touch of rap.
Not as much as Mr. Bungle, though. Mikey Patton's other project.
Patton's
With a touch
first
of
Mr. Bungle
band.
is bipolar. Very bipolar.
So yeah, I mean the California, for all its faults, it's still got some fantastic bands.
There's even
A
new
lot of
wave
these bands
thrash
are either
starting to crop up out of there a little bit. You got bands like Warbringer coming out of the Bay Area, and
Yeah.
And
they're
Fortress as well.
bringing the thrash hard.
Yeah.
yeah, it's still going and they're still making it. And then some of the guys, a lot of the bands we've seen on there, broke up but reformed and are still going today, still sounding good. It's I definitely want to catch some of them while they're still around because I've not seen many of those bands live.
But the problem I have, guys, and I don't know how it is in your markets, but in our market, we lost our last contemporary rock station. In other words, new rock.
Yeah.
A few years ago, all they play is classic rock now. All we got new is pop 40 and country. There's no new rock stations anymore.
Oh yeah, country's blowing up. Man, we have a Canadian station here, that they broadcast through Detroit. 89X. They've been there as long as I can remember. They were like the punk rock station, and sometimes they would play other stuff like heavy metal or even Eminem. But yeah, like a year or two ago, I turned them on, and all I heard was country. They became a country station. They're not even American.
It's very strange. It's very strange. The new rock stuff, you have to really go out and find it.
Yeah, we have 4 country stations now.
Yeah,
and if
I
you
think
do
the
still
last
have a
band
rock
I
station.
saw, the last band I saw new music from was Royal Blood, and that was years ago. Years ago. That was the
rock
Little
station,
Monsters. That song they put out.
The rock station here got really screwed. They got turned into a gospel station. So imagine being the guy who didn't get that memo.
Well, Striper will be okay then. Striper. But there's no rock where I live. Forget about it. I mean, there's a classic rock station by that.
That's what I'm saying. There's no venue to hear new
Eagles
stuff for free over the
and
airways.
Rolling
You have to look
Stones
for it.
and
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear any of this stuff on. You wouldn't hear even
Brahma
Metallica
and chat.
on that
Here's
station.
a whiskey. You guys enjoy?
Yeah, the chat.
I mean,
you've. Thanks for all being here, guys.
I can't start yet.
I will start.
My
later.
hours have changed.
It's
I'm
my
good now.
weekend, so I will start later.
There's a benefit to listening to music that you don't hear on the radio to begin with, that you always had to look for it. So I was kind of somewhat lucky in that.
So we can certainly salute California for giving us some of the greatest music of all genres, but particularly thrash. We're indebted to them for the thrash scene, I would say. I know there's other areas of Florida have got some of that, but Bay Area is where it started. So it
How
made
do
me
you
a
guys feel
cespit
about
now.
Avenged Sevenfold being
I mean,
from
some
that
of their
area?
early
Saw
stuff
them in
is
a
all right.
nightclub. Saw them at the Malibu Beach Club when nobody knew who they were.
They used
Creed,
to play
I
a
saw
chain
there too.
reaction.
Yeah.
They used to play a chain reaction. That was a big deal because that was, whether you liked them or not, they used to be like a full-on, I guess you could say, first wave metalcore band. They were from Orange County. Them and Bleeding Through were some of the big bands of the California metalcore scene. And Bleeding Through didn't really amount to much as far as fame, but they did go a little darker as they went on. They started inserting more like Dimmu Borgir, Emperor type of influences. Well, Avenged Sevenfold just pretty much when Guns N' Roses as AC/DC went on. And I remember when I was in high school, I knew that one guy who loved Avenged Sevenfold. I remember him, and he was obsessed with them. And then they put out the album City of Evil in 2005, is where they went through the big tonal shift, and he was pissed. He disowned that band. He was donezo. Like he
Right.
And I remember after he disowned that band, everyone in the school knew who they were. And before you knew it, all the jocks, the normies, the
There's
preppies,
nothing worse than
all
that,
of them,
isn't it?
all of them were in on that band. And I remember
secret.
that was his band, and then they changed their sound so radically.
I remember.
The only thing that
that's
saved
when they got a
Kiss.
Guitar Hero.
The only
I
thing
remember
that
the-
saved
remember
Kiss when they
Pete.
went disco was the makeup, man. That was it.
Oh, Kisco?
Kisco.
But the classic example of that was the girls that used to watch the Beatles at the Cavern Club every day when they played there, and then they became big, and they were interviewing those girls, and they went, "We're never going to see them again. They were our band, and everybody's got them now." And there's nothing worse that you've got. This is my secret. Only I like this, and and then it's boom. They're
Right.
super famous, and it's ruined. You'll never ever see them again. You can't go out and touch them. They're not there in front of you. It's such a shame, but yeah, the legacy of those bands is huge. The Bay Area. I mean, unlike hair metal, which died. Really, I mean, there's a few guys carried it on occasionally.
I mean,
Thrash,
there's Steel Panther, who's a parody of hair metal.
indeed, and they're better than any of the bands they're parodying. But the thrash stuff
considered retro.
continues. Thrash, black metal, death metal continues to this day, and those bands, even the big four, are called the big four for a reason. Their legacy endures, and I think that's something
Besides
to be
Slayer, R.I.P. to Slayer.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're done.
But their legacy
Their
endures.
farewell tour lasted what, 5 years?
2 years.
Well, it's visiting the global ATM is what that's called. Yes. So
Well,
what
if you actually look
actually?
at the routing, I'm gonna be that guy here. But they did an A market, a B market, and a C market, and they also hit the European areas, the down under stuff, and they did the big summer festival market. And they only did a few American cities twice. Chicago as being one of them, and then of course at home for the Bay Area, they closed out with for their very last two shows there. So if you put in that perspective, filled with context, you'll see that they're pretty much giving everyone their shot at seeing them before they saw it.
Yeah, fair enough. So I want to play. Well, probably Nick. Have you still got a few minutes?
I can listen to a song, and after that, I got to cut out.
I'm going to play something for a bit of fun.
Okay.
It's my favorite comedian, Bill Bailey. This is his take on death metal.
Man.
So bear with me. This is quite funny.
I can't wait.
It's.
He actually did a great job of it too.
I remember that one.
I can
Oh
show
my
it again,
God. That
'cause
was
it's,
good.
One more, just for a laugh. I know I'm indulging myself now, but this
Go
is,
ahead, man.
oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
here it is.
those lobby cards I was telling you about earlier? My favorite one. I want to see the video from that cameraman that was right up on him.
I know there is a
That would've been
professional. That's a festival called Sonosphere. There is a
Yeah,
professional.
that guy's definitely a heavy metal version of Steve Martin.
I've
I don't know if you
seen
guys ever
him
saw
live.
Steve Martin live.
I've seen him live
on video,
many
but
times.
he was a banjo playing fool. That guy was
Oh,
great.
he's great at the banjo. But this guy can play the banjo too, and the mandolin, and the
Really?
dulcimer, and
Wow.
everything. Yeah, he does Tolkien stuff, and he does like Chaucer, as if he was going out for a pub in the style of Chaucer.
Yeah,
you
what
know?
I was going to say before the video started was those lobby cards I made for Cowboys back in the day. My favorite one was my favorite comedian, and we saw him St. Patrick's Day of '91. It was Sam Kennison. I drew him with the beret and everything, and he signed it for me. We partied with his brother that night because he actually was in recovery at the time, guys. He was off of drugs. He was off of the drinking, all that stuff. He was just remarried. He died 2 weeks later on his way home from, I think he was driving to Reno.
Don't you
And
hear this
a
a lot,
drunk
though?
driver crossed the center line
Oh,
and hit him.
jeez.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's nothing to do with the fact he was sober.
No,
Because
nothing
that
at all.
happens a lot. Like
Yeah,
Keith
it's
Moon got
crazy.
sober, dies. You know.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. That's like a
man.
pattern in rock. Like once they stop doing drugs, something kills them almost.
Right? Something does them in, right?
Meanwhile, you have Lemmy and Keith Richards who never stopped and made it. Well, in Lemmy's case, he made it till he was 71, and Keith is still going.
Why can't it be like the 70s where they did themselves in with their addiction? Damn it.
I'd like to thank Nick, who just had to drop out quietly. Thanks for being here, buddy, and it was great to see you. And
cheers, Nick.
Take care, Big
cheers.
Daddy.
Have a good night.
It was
Yeah,
huge as
you
usual.
see, there's two things rock stars should never do. One is stop drinking and taking drugs, and the other is get in an airplane.
Yeah, pretty much.
Avoid
Right?
those all.
Oh, my favorite, Buddy Holly. Oh my God, yeah.
Oh no.
There's a funny story with him and the Apollo.
You could
Dude,
probably add
it's
pro
right.
wrestlers
He was
to
the
that
first
list too.
white man
70s.
ever to play the Apollo, and
they didn't know.
And
They,
and
like,
succeed.
the guys who
Yeah.
booked him didn't know he was white.
Yeah, they didn't know. Yeah.
So like you can hear this gasp go up from the crowd when this nerdy white dude walks out on stage with
That's
his
right,
guitar.
yeah.
Hey,
It's
Pope,
played quite well
I
in the
always,
movie.
I always sing his praises. That guy was so far ahead of his time. Imagine the music he would have made.
I agree,
Imagine.
mate. If he had lived, it's incredible to think of what he could have achieved as a producer, a songwriter, a performer. He was years ahead of his time.
He was the first artist able to produce his own music.
Yeah.
I mean, he broke so many patterns in the music industry. It wasn't even funny.
And Jimi Hendrix as well. I would have loved to see what he would have done with heavy metal.
Oh,
because
God.
he was getting
Yeah.
heavier and bluesier as he
Yeah,
went on. So I think
absolutely.
he would have taken Sabbath and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible to think of. It's such a shame, but you know, shit happens, I guess. But yeah, I think we'll probably wrap it up in a few minutes, though. And as Mrs. Rock fan is, I can hear food being made, and I'm hungry.
Oh, look out. Yeah, food time. That's
So,
coming here.
any final thoughts, guys, on what I know we could have covered a million other bands and things, but it was a condensed version. But give me your final thoughts.
Well, for me, I'm sorry I was late, guys. I thought we were starting at 4. But for me, it was always Van Halen. I mean, that's the obvious choice for the LA scene. Just Eddie. I mean, well, you got to realize his wife was born here in Shreveport, Louisiana. I played Pac-Man with this guy when I was a bartender. They used when they came home to see their family, they came to Cowboys. It was the hottest thing in 4 states. We had people from Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas coming to see us because we're right, the 4-state area. And
I wouldn't have let people from Oklahoma in.
Um,
They've been bothering Texas since 1908.
right?
It's
Damn
ridiculous.
it, damn it! But my favorite football team's in Oklahoma for college. But anyway, I'm a big Sooners fan. But anyway, I played Pac-Man with this guy. He was the most lovable dude, but he he hammered drinks, guys. He was an alcoholic, and that's why she left him. But a sweetheart of a guy, you know. His brother was the business brains. You know what I mean? His brother was the business side, and he always tried to keep the reins on him. But you know, Eddie was going to be himself, and he wasn't volatile or anything like that. He liked his drink.
You know, one of the things that impressed me about Eddie was every time you saw him on stage, he had a smile on his face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Every
most easygoing
time.
guy I've ever met in my life.
He was
really-
grinning all the time. It
And
was
he
great.
treated his fans like gold. He did.
Yeah.
He loved them all. He did.
He locked
Yep.
them in a vault, and no.
It's a whole different kind of love.
But yeah, that's my final thought on it.
No,
yeah,
that's cool, mate. Thanks
It's
for
Van
being
Halen. Van Halen's my favorite thing to come out of that area.
Yeah, so Brahma, my friend, and again, you didn't get the chance to join in till later and contribute much, but
yeah,
you're a metalhead and you like a lot of alternative stuff too. So the stuff that we covered today, what would be your thoughts on that?
Well, out of the metal stuff, I mean, yeah, the thrash metal and that kind of stuff is kind of beyond my expertise, but I'd have to agree. Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, for me, like I said, Faith No More, and actually, I think the very first album I ever bought with my own money was The Offspring, who also came out of there.
Oh man!
back
Now
in
you
the
want to
day.
talk about a
them,
band that
actually,
sounds
yeah.
like they came from a club. They sound like a
Forgot
garage
about
band.
them.
They're awesome. Yeah.
So, I mean, as bad as California is, they do export some good things, and music is one of the very few good things besides some of the wine that comes out of there that's great. So
Well,
we
there's a
can
lot of
appreciate them
whining
for
coming
that
out
at
of
the
there.
very least.
Okay, mate. Cheers. Yes, that's a good point. Pope, my friend, you're. Did we miss anything? Is there a favorite band of yours that from California that we didn't?
I mean, there's some newer acts coming out of California, like Space Vacation and Fortress, who I think is actually done now. They only did one record, but it was fantastic. It was Nick turned me on to them. And there's a new generation of traditional heavy metal bands coming out of that area, and new thrash bands as well, which I really love to see.
Good. No, well, we'll maybe cover those in a future show on either your channel or mine. But
absolutely,
you give me the names and I'll start listening to them.
Excellent.
Pope,
You're
I'm really interested though. Who do you like from the Strip era?
From the Strip era, it's got to be Van Halen and GNR, just because those guys are by far and away the best. I do actually dig a bit of Striper. I did an episode on him not too long ago because one of the fans asked me to do it, and I actually don't hate it.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good. Yeah, there's some good tracks. I mean, for me, Van Halen and Guns N' Roses, as I say, they bookended that period, and they're both real rock bands without a gimmick particularly. And Guns N' Roses were possibly the last great rock band of their kind.
Yeah,
In that,
I'd say that.
That hard rock, Stones, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses. I can't think of a band since that's had the impact they had that's like that.
As to my favorite Californian stuff, period, I got to go with the Bay Area thrash bands. Like those were a huge part of me growing up and me becoming a metalhead. It was all like Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer, Metallica, Exodus, and Testament as well. And that was actually one of the few really good shows I went to when I was stationed in California. Was actually Exodus.
All right, yeah, I'd love to have seen them.
Yeah, 70s, that lineage you speak of. I think Chili Peppers was really the transition. That was the one where the music changed, I think.
We haven't really talked about them other than they were on a poster, and I didn't know how to fit them into this because they're so unique.
They are unique, and it's not in any of the genres we've been talking about. It's just it's an honest in your face band, and well, let's face it, the sock puppets scare people. So
And even in terms of time scale, they came in right in the middle of this in like '84, and then kind of continued on, into the 90s and ever since.
Right.
Really blew
I'm
up.
saying their popularity in the 90s was really the transition from the hair band era into a different kind of music.
Yeah.
It's about the time grunge took over.
Sure.
And
Yeah, and yet they don't fit in any of those. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're more funk than anything else.
Yeah, they have a lot. Their bass work, especially, is very fun inspired.
Yeah. And the drummer, God, my mind's just gone blank. He plays with Chicken Foot as well, and I think he's spot on. When you see them playing things like Highway Star, he just nails it.
They're great, but they don't really fit into the hair band, the strip thing.
No,
they don't really fit.
They certainly don't fit into the clothing wearing.
No, hell no.
And I got to give a lot of respect to the punk bands from that era, because Black Flag, all Dead Kennedys, all those guys were really solid, really
The
influential.
Dead Kennedys is the one that really stuck out to me. Yeah.
And I think they don't get talked about enough in the modern era, because punk kind of just went away.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I just remembered the Germs. Pat Smear, of course, was the bass player in the Germs. But X, I think, are a band that I've got a lot of respect for, and they sound great now. They moved into more of a rockabilly Americana sound than a punk sound, and they sound really good. And having Dave Alvin in them for a while, I mean, he's one of my favorite artists of all time. So, lot of respect for that band. Imperatus, my friend. Final thoughts.
Well, like I said at the beginning of the stream, a lot of these bands were ones I grew up on. So for the Sunset Strip era, for me, it would be, again, Van Halen. They were a big part of a bunch of different eras for me. Guns N' Roses, or older Motley Crue, and then it became the Bay Area thrash bands. It started, I guess you could say, my descent to the depths. Because it was all
into the underworld.
That's
your wheelhouse, isn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, but that's where I started with, a lot of people did with the various thrash bands, and then once that started getting a little stale or whatever, you started digging into the underground of thrash, which then led into the burgeoning death metal scene. Once that started getting stale, you started digging into the doom stuff, or digging into black metal or whatever. So the lineage of where metal is now would not be anywhere close to what it would be if it wasn't for any of these bands. Massively influential. I mean, because if you think about it, at the same time, the only influential band from that era that came out of the New York metal scene was Anthrax.
Yep.
And that's really it. Everything else was either underground or just wasn't metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, good point, mate. Darius, my friend, thank you for doing the executive producing. I know you've been moving stuff around in the background. Thank you. You're very quiet, but I know you know a lot more about this music than you're revealing.
Well, yeah, you have a lot of great scenes because the state is so big and so populated. But the Sunset Strip, that was a special moment in time. Van Halen is all-time great. I actually like Rat, by the way. I think I'm the only one. And
it's funny that they started a lot earlier than the other bands.
Yeah, when you said when they started, I was like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They were formed in 73, so they were pretty well formed by the time hair metal had even been heard of. They'd been going for quite a while.
Weren't they Mickey Rat back then?
Yeah, well, maybe they were a sewer rat. And by the way, I like what Sentient Dildo says, that Imperatus didn't start immediately burning churches. He was eased into it. He just kind of started by burning the odd cross, and then
graveyard vandalism here and there,
just a chapel in a church. Yeah. So yeah, Darius, you're every time I mention a band, you seem to know an awful lot about them. You never reveal.
And the was it the Palm Springs bands like Caius and them? I actually like that scene. That is a band. In fact, that's the band that kind of exposed me to it because I was already familiar with Queens of the Stone Age, which are a great band.
Yeah.
And I do like Goatsnake. I don't know if anyone else here.
Don't we all? Oh, you mean the band?
No,
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
the band. Yeah, no. I found them on I went to Southern Lord. They're like a label that published a lot of stone rock and doom rock and stuff. And I checked it out. I think it's owned by the lead guy in Goatsnake. But that's a good scene that's entirely different from LA. And I'm actually not that familiar with the punk scene.
Sure.
But I have to say the Bay Area thrash scene is my favorite. That's the closest to my heart. You know, like early Metallica. You know, like Ride the Lightning, Metallica. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And they were
Exodus.
instrumental in that scene. They were very heavily into it in the early days. So.
And the guy they kicked out of the band started a band that became just as good.
One could argue better.
Some people would
at
argue
times.
better. Yeah. We're going to finish on a bit of a Metallica note actually before we go, but the Palm Desert stuff with Josh Homme, I think he's done a great job. He has various festivals and things going on there where these bands play, and it's a nice little self-contained scene, you know. So I'd like to visit that one day. So just before we say our final goodbyes and plug anything, I feel like we can plug stuff now. Who's got something they want to plug?
All I got coming up is, my Thursday night stream with Matt from Foulball doing some gaming. As always, we're probably going to decide what we're playing the day of, so I have no idea what we're playing as of yet. Last week was Warframe. He seemed to enjoy it. I don't know how the chat felt. And then Friday, as long as work doesn't kick the crap out of me, I'll be on Foulball again doing the MF or Cocktail Lounge.
I didn't like Warframe as much because he didn't die as often.
Yeah.
wasn't nearly as much fun, but I'm sure.
Him in Battlefield 1 was entertaining.
Once I'm finished working in October, we're going to get into this Make Warrior. I'm going to really properly get into it with you.
Keep in mind, Yelling at Parked Cars will be on Odyssey only tonight.
Oh yeah. Still Odyssey, yeah.
Yeah, 3 hours. 3 hours from now, a little less than 3 hours, but Odyssey exclusive again with Snow Dub tonight. So
I'll be there, buddy. I'll be watching for sure.
I found it kind of neat because I quite like the Odyssey. I don't know what you would call it, the
platform
user interface. Yeah, the user interface.
Yeah. On the computer, it's good. On mobile, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, on the
but they have
computer,
stickers. You can
mobile
put stickers in the chat.
But I think you guys did Thursday Night Throwdown over there last week, and they had a good turnout. You guys need to turn out for it tonight.
Yeah, we had 70 something last week. We'd like to hit 100 just to see if we can grow that side of it too. So
I think they might be a member stream on Odyssey for
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. I got a bone to pick with comics about that, man. Look, Nick, our boy Nick that just left, he's doing Blazing Saddles tomorrow night.
Oh yeah, at the same time.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I gotta go to the member stream. I mean,
well, you can be in both chats at once.
Yeah,
it's true.
Or both shows
I'll
at
be
once.
watching it. Believe that.
Hope, my friend, tell me something.
Well, I mean, coming up, I really just got my weekly Rock and Roll Religion episode. I think this week we're going to do the classic trilogy of Motorhead. So that's going to be a good one. I really love all three of these records, and I can't wait to talk about them. But other than that, I'll probably do some streaming on Twitch this week because I finally remembered the fact that I have a Twitch channel and play games on it. It'll probably either be HBS BattleTech or Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate. So feel free to come hang out with me on there. It's usually a pretty chill time. It's just me getting my ass beat by the AI a lot. But other than that, just
it's a sign of humanity's future. You're getting your ass beat by an AI.
Pretty much.
Thanks, mate. Oh, Courtney's back. She's back to say hello. Goodbye. Why don't you say hello?
At me. I'm just gonna wait if you guys are finishing up.
We're just finishing up, but now you're here, you can tell us what you're up to.
I told you we'd get some girls back in here. I said that.
Wait, what am I supposed to do?
Just tell us what you're doing these days. What did you think of the show?
Didn't I
What
already
are you
tell
doing?
you? Didn't I already tell you?
Tell us again.
I don't have my channel active at the moment, but it will be soon enough. And what am I doing? I'm going on other people's channels. Thanks.
But any final takeaways from the subject matter today? Any bands we missed that you might have wished we talked about?
There's some new bands that were recommended. If for as far as hold on, I sent it to you, didn't I? As far as Bay Area and newer, like kind of metal bands, and let me just pull it up really quickly.
I just realized you said don't add me, and I added you. So
Yeah, no, because I was just gonna wait and say hi to you guys at the end.
Sorry about that.
Who was it that wrote that to me? It was
I can't
my other buddy.
read everything at once.
It's okay. We know you're a little slow. I'm just kidding. You're not.
Well,
slow.
That's kind of this area of the internet in a nutshell, right? You tell us not to do something, that's the first thing we're going to do.
First thing we're going to do, yeah.
Okay, here it was. This is another friend of mine from the Bay Area who has he's been playing in bands for a long time. He wrote, "Hey there, that looks cool and fun," because he was probably lurking watching. So one of my favorite
I hope you enjoyed it.
He says, so one of my favorite Bay Area bands is called Kicker. I don't know if anyone's heard of them. It's he said Pete the Roadie sings. They got the bass player from Neurosis and the guitarist from Dystopia. They're an all-star band. So Kicker is one to check out. These are current day. And then you have Charger is the other band, which is Matt Freeman from Rancid's new band. They sound a lot like Motorhead. And Jason
Charger I've heard of. They're good.
And Jason Wheeler is on drums. He's been in a lot of really cool bands. Then there's The Vaccines, spelled VAXXINES. And they're a cool band with ex-members of Blats, who I had brought up before. I don't know, just briefly, but I don't know if anyone knew who they were. Blats and Filth were like two kind of, it doesn't matter. But they have a couple all-star people in there too.
That's Kicker there, I think, yeah. With Pete the Roadie.
Oh, wait, that's why wait, hold on. That's my buddy in there. Right there.
Which one?
That's why he said it.
Where is he?
Funny.
Which one?
His name's Talon. That's funny.
Which one is he?
I think that's from Seconds to Right.
All right, cool.
Talon. He played in an awesome band called Stray Bullets for a while, and yeah, he's been all over the place. He lived in Philly. He actually worked the door for my punk night for a while in Philly.
I like what he says here. We're here to pogo, drink your lager, and eat your chips, which is the British meaning of chips, and indulge in a full English breakfast in the morning. My kind of band.
Yes.
And then on that Poison Idea show that I was watching yesterday that I'd sent to you, they had Chris Contos come on, however you say his last name, and he was saying that there was another, now I can't think of it. Oh, they put Discharge, the band, back together. I don't know if anyone remembers Discharge, but it's like Terry Bones and all these cool people are in it. So yeah, that was just the newer updates on stuff that I was getting.
Cool. Well, we'll make a list of those and we'll get round to them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hear about the new stuff anymore. So when I heard that, I figured I'd just share it.
I only hear it from you guys.
It's kind of like the old days, where unless you're in that scene, you don't really hear a lot about it.
Like you say, we talked about that earlier, Courtney. There's no place to hear it now. It's all classic rock stuff. There's no place to hear it.
Word of mouth again, which is what it used to be in the old days. Word of mouth. That's how you heard about shit.
Good, you get fewer posers that way.
Well, and the one guy. The one guy on the stream that I was watching yesterday was talking about they had a festival, like some thrash festival or something in I think it was in the Bay Area, like 2 days ago maybe. And but what they did was they had a bunch of bands, but they covered all older stuff. Like they were covering like classics from like Exodus and Testament and like all different stuff like that. It sounded really cool.
It sounds like an awesome time. My buddy actually used to do that around here.
Back to what you were saying, Joe, is that he mentioned that everyone's just going nuts now because there's nowhere to play. You know what I mean? Everyone just wants to play. They haven't been able to play forever, so it's like an overload of people trying to get shows and stuff. And I just miss all of that. The last live show I saw was 2019. It was Stiff Little Finger stuff and the Avengers. So.
It's tough. But it'll get back to it. I'll be living near a bigger city again in October onwards, so I might be able to get to a few more gigs.
Hell yeah.
So Joe, have you got anything you want to plug?
Absolutely, man. I've got a couple of new videos coming out. I've been cutting up a live stream. I did a review of She-Hulk and the Comic-Con that we had here, where I had the posters out. And I'm cutting that up into videos. I put one out today, one's premiering tomorrow. Of course, my brother will be back. He was gone last week. We'll do our talk show at 6:30 Central on Thursday. The Brothers Hack the Matrix. And for the first time in 42 years, guys, I'm not working at night. I actually am working at night being a resident manager, but I get to sleep from 10 to 5:30 in the morning.
Nice.
So I'm actually not working at night for the first time in 42 years, ladies and gentlemen.
Cool.
So that's why I'm having a cocktail now, so I can go to bed at a decent hour. I'm still trying to get my clock right. I'm just shifting. And so I say that to tell the folks that follow me on Twitch that we're not going to have Papa Joe Gamer up way too late this week. I'm changing my hours, so we're going to change the name of that show on Twitch, and I'm going to find time to play some games, but that's up in the air right now. So thanks for having me, 70s. Once again, I'm sorry I was late, but I thought we were
no, don't worry about it, mate. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I know you mentioned Foreigner.
Yeah. What's that now?
No.
Where do we find you on Twitch?
Same name everywhere, darling.
Okay.
Joe's the
Thank you.
Atmosphere. Yep.
Thank you.
Everywhere.
So I know you
easy to
mentioned
find.
Foreigner earlier, who are a favourite band of mine too, but I've got this. This is the Mick Jones book, A Foreigner's Tale. It's his story. It comes in a lovely box
man.
with a lovely signed copy of the book.
Excellent.
And posters and stuff and whatever, and it's a really interesting read because this guy had
You
a
just
weird
earned free posters, my friend. That's badass.
He had
That
a
is
weird and
badass.
interesting career.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
'cause he played in
yeah.
France for
Watch
all those
his
years
story.
and-
That Mick Jones. Did I tell you the story about the time I saw him fixing to run up on stage, standing next to a roadie? Did I tell you that story? Oh my
no.
God! I was bartending at that gig that I told you about. They picked 4 clubs to play in the country, and my boss got one of them. Cowboys was huge. Okay, it's right anchored between those 4 states I mentioned earlier. And they played here. We had 1,500 people in a 1,000 person room, right? And I'm going to get ice, okay? Because I was actually, me and my partner I was working for, or excuse me, working with, we ran the bar on the left side of the house. And it was a 3-tiered dance floor, and there was a tunnel underneath the dance floor, and that was the backstage area where all the instruments were, right? And the ice room I'm going to is right next to that. So I go and get the ice. I'm in a hurry, man. I'm running. I go and get that stuff, and I come back out, and there's Mick Jones standing next to a roadie. And the drum solo is going on at the time. And he turned to the roadie, and I was stunned. I was just standing there with this bucket of ice like a freaking 12-year-old staring at a freaking car coming at him. You know what I mean? Because it's one of my heroes, man. I love the dude. And he looks at his roadie. He goes, "I love this fucking shit." Snatched the guitar out of his hand and went running up on stage right then. I saw it. I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" You know, it was a great night. Man.
Weren't you telling a story about
best
Mick
house show
Jones
ever.
before?
What's that?
Like, didn't you tell me a story about Mick Jones before? How like he met the other Mick Jones from the Clash?
That was
or
me.
something?
So
Or
Mick
that was
Jones
you?
of Foreigner met Mick Jones from the Clash for the first time because they're always getting they're always getting confused for each other.
When I hear,
And Mick Jones from the Clash said, "I wish I had your royalties." Can we get those mixed up? You know,
Right?
'cause-
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for that story, mate. But
I thought I told you that one already. Yeah, it was great, man.
no, that's
Never
pretty
forget
cool.
it.
You see a lot of things when you work in places like that.
Oh man, yeah.
Darius, my friend, have you got anything you wish to plug?
Well, now that you mention it, yeah, just the Thursday
Too late.
night bad movie reviews that I do on /McSplitter's channel. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
I'll be back here next Monday with you. And I got
Indeed.
nothing else.
Just in the chats as general.
And he sings amazing karaoke.
Darius, can you
He
put a link
does.
to that your buddy's channel? Because I'd love to see that show. I love movies.
Well, yeah, there's supposed to be bad movies, but you got good bad movies and bad
Dude,
movies.
come on, man. Howard the Duck is one of the greatest bad movies ever. Come
That's
on.
an awesome
that is a
movie.
good bad movie.
That's
a
not
good
a bad movie.
But thanks, Darius. Yeah, if you've got a link to that, put it in there. I who have nothing. I will be on Toxic Tuesday tomorrow, doing Blazing Saddles.
So
It's gonna be
jealous.
so good. I'm working on a couple of new videos. One's a science fiction book related one, and one will be another Indian movie one, which I'm loving. In fact, I'm working on a video for a Korean TV show I've been watching as well. And then God knows what else I'll be doing. Next show we're going to do is going to be a movie again, though. I know that much, and I think I know the movie it's going to be, but I will disseminate that information to you people, you good people, so you can comment when I've made up my mind.
I hope it's a movie I know.
It's not going to be well, it might be a movie, you know. We'll see.
Probably not.
Well, you know what? I won't hide it. I think it's going to be A Boy and His Dog. Is the movie I want to do.
Yeah, you'd mentioned
I
that.
feel like-
Yeah,
I
Don
read that
Johnson.
book.
Back
Don
in the day.
Johnson movie, Harlan Ellison story. I'm thinking of that one. That's somebody suggested it, and I think that might make a good. It's in the obscure enough vein to be interesting. But
What about Brazil or Videodrome?
Videodrome is on my list, but it'll take me a while to get there. But yeah, that's what I'm up to. Toxic Tuesday, that will be a lot of fun. So I would like to thank you guys for being here, but I'd also like to thank the chat, who have been magnificent. I think we had so many people in the chat at various times. I just absolutely love it. You're all great supporters. We have Don't Ask Me to Be As Serious As You, so who I don't recall seeing before, so hello. Sentient Dildo, thank you for being here and modding. D-Bud Martin was here and modding too. Darius has obviously been doing a lot of work there. Kitty Bear, Stephen Paul, good to see you, mate. Joe's Atmosphere has been here. Interesting. Sporking News Podcast.
Hail,
Very
Scott.
good to see you. Hail, Scott. Good to see you, mate. Always good to see you.
You know I love the chat. I love playing in there.
Yeah, the chat is just good. Cam. Good to see you, sir. Indeed. After Cliff died, that was it for Metallica, I think. But Soul Assassin, another great supporter of the channel. Monkey Jeebus, good to see you. Working my way back here. Lord Thoth, good to see you, eh? Good buddy. We have others that I'm trying to find in the
Papa Cotton.
Papa Cotton, who's keeping us real.
He
Keeps
always
us
does.
real.
Not the most patient ever, but
No,
good
but
man.
keeps us real. You should see him on my radio streams. Everything I play
Oh,
is
he's
shite.
funny.
No
I
matter
know.
what it is, it's shite.
Well, I always tell him, I'm like, come on, he's gonna play metal, and then he'll get there, and he's
Well,
like,
I
what is
play-
this? What is this?
I play a lot of stuff. I've got lots of stuff. You know,
I
not
love
just
everything
metal.
you play, so
I got everything, every kind of genre.
I know
Every
you
kind
do.
of
That's
people.
what makes it awesome.
Nick was here. Thanks to him for being here, and thanks to Gary Neurodrotic for coming in. It was so good to have you on the channel, mate, and to talk about music. Hopefully, we can all do that again.
Absolutely.
And Gary, the other Gary who tried to get in, but his power kept going off. Sorry about that, mate.
Poor
we'll see you
fella.
again soon. Though.
He's
Don't
with us
worry.
in spirit, though.
He
He's
is
awesome.
good lad, and we'll see him again next time. Das Wolfen was here. X-Ray Girl
Cody
was here.
Guy.
Agent Bossy Boots. Cody Guy.
Lindsay.
I'm gonna. Yeah, lovely Sherry. I'm gonna miss someone I know. Keck 44, Newborn Turk, always good guys. I can't
Kitty
even go
Bear,
back any
Steve,
further.
and Paul.
Yeah, if I miss anyone, my apologies. You've all been great. It's been probably the busiest show we've had. So thanks to you all for being here. So I'm going to play us out with a tune, something a little bit lighthearted, bit of fun. And it does involve Metallica, but not completely. So this will be a little bit of fun just to play us out with. And if I can get the right file. Oh, yeah. No, in fact.
You can do it.
I can
Do it.
Here it is. So let's have a little fun before we go. to be one of the best mashups ever made.
That is, man. I
They
love the
include a
Bee
little
Gees
priest in
ones.
there, too.
That's badass.
Yeah. It's
They
right,
have
fits-
saxophones. Come on.
Oh, man.
But I mean,
horns.
just the way the guys edited it, it's just incredible. I love it.
They even snuck some
Fit
priest
together
in there
well.
too, because that's Glenn Tipton at one point.
That's right.
That
They
was
snuck
catchy.
They snuck a few extras in, but the editing is so good in that one. But anyway,
Perfect.
that was it for tonight, for today. Thanks again to all of you. We'll see you all again very soon. And until then, keep on rocking.